Part 107. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 1062. The head of the Nye family's direct lineage was already nearly 80 years old when nothing happened on the Emperor planet. This age is already considered a long life for people on Earth, but for people in the Milky Way, it is in the prime of life. To Lily's surprise, the head of the Nye family had no offspring and had no sons. He only had a daughter named Chi when he was 40 years old. The reason why this was specially noted in the information was because this Nye family, the princess's IQ has reached a number that even the Nye family cannot match. Her mental activity and development application value have reached more than 95%. She has become the most important core figure in the Nye family's research center, leading the Nye family into the next new century. In the information, Nye Chi's character evaluation column reads: Comprehensive Strength Assessment, unknown. Moreover, Nye Chi's name is printed with the words focus on in purple font. Even when Su Ying's information was used, the federal information only gave him a comprehensive evaluation of such a weird and unpredictable power. SS and above, but Nye Chi's testimony was unknown. Lily frowned, and then she casually flipped through some information on other Nye family members. Su Ying appeared again at some point, and he was confused. What appeared must be related to his ability to separate time and space. It may be that he has never left this room. Lily turned off the light brain and watched him standing in the room looking out through the window. The blue-purple light outside looked like a dream, but these lights were environmental garbage in the universe, with extremely strong radiation and pollution. Before, Lily, in the clip I just watched about the battle between Gu Chen and the Nye family, the suspended mutated light bodies collected by the Nye family were refined from these extremely lethal lights. Su Ying was as quiet as a stone sculpture, staring out the window. That delicate profile does not look real. Lily originally wanted to say hello to him, but although she told others that her relationship with Su Ying was husband and wife, she and Su Ying were not as familiar as she thought, and besides, she was not sure. Is there any surveillance in the room? After all, this is not her own territory, so Lily swallowed her words again and changed to something else. I may take a break to practice physical skills at night. Do you need my help? When Lily thought he wouldn't speak, Su Ying suddenly frowned. There were nice wrinkles at the corners of his eyes, and he asked with some confusion. Lily shook her head, and he stopped talking again. She had no choice but to tell him not to run around casually, and she didn't know if he heard it. What's more, Lily wasn't sure whether Su Ying would really listen to her. So far, apart from explaining a few more words, she had taken advantage of Su Ying. There is no other way, just finish what you need to say. Lily went to the bathroom to wash up, and when she came out after changing into pajamas, she made an ice cube box about 5 square meters around herself for her to move around, and wrapped herself in it. This is not her own battleship. It is difficult to be sure whether the Federation has built anything in it to monitor her. She does not want to be discovered by others in her physical training, so that the people in the Federation know that her physical training is different from others. Therefore, an ice space was created in which it would be most appropriate for her to practice. The suddenly cold air around her didn't make Lily uncomfortable. She had just moved her body, and the originally solid ice layer twisted twice at a strange speed in front of her, and gradually disappeared. Even the cold air around her felt, when she was gone, a strange energy surged around her. She instinctively used her spiritual power to protect herself and jumped up. Su Ying stood opposite her. The weird thing just now must have been caused by him. I obviously told him that I wanted to practice. But at this time he destroyed his own ice layer. Lily frowned, feeling that she needed to have a good talk with him. Before she could speak, Su Ying was already standing not far from her. Okay, he finished. Seeing that Lily didn't move, she said, you can make the ice layer again. This meant that he also wanted to stay in it, so Lily sighed. It was not difficult for her to create a larger room made of ice and snow next to the two of them. However, it was obvious that with Su Ying around, she could no longer practice, so she simply made two more beds and lined them up on the left and right sides of the igloo, and he lay down on one side. When he appeared in the battleship the next day, Gu Chen looked at her a little strangely. It wasn't until the 10th day that he finally couldn't help but remind Lily, "The battleship has arrived 2 days ago and the government last sent it 7 years ago. We have searched for the location closest to the Nye family signal. I hope you will exercise some restraint. The Nye family is not that easy to deal with. I don't care what the agreement between the federal government and you is, but if you two hold us back, at the critical moment I will not waste my troops rescuing you." After he finished speaking, his expression was a little ugly. "You have to remember this time that you are here to go on a mission. No matter how much affection you have between your husband and wife, I don't want you to waste your energy on this kind of thing." Gu Chen, there was a look of disgust in his suppressed expression. After saying this, he turned his head away. It took Lily a while to understand the meaning of his words. It should be that she built an igloo every day in her room. Gu Chen knew about the action of staying with Su Ying. It's just that he misunderstood and thought that he and Su Ying were doing something shameful in the igloo. It seemed that her initial guess was correct. There was indeed someone in her room who could control her movements. Monitoring, at this time Gu Chen's reminder made Lily a little unhappy. Just as he was about to speak, the optical brain on his wrist beeped. After 3 beeps, a shadow of a male soldier appeared from the optical brain. He jumped out and said stiffly, "Sir, the signal has been captured." This news cheered everyone up, and Lily didn't bother to discuss her private matters with Gu Chen anymore. Gu Chen turned around and hurriedly walked to the combat command hall, asking Ji as he walked, "Is the information accurate? The year the Nye family was destroyed by him, they robbed an asteroid as their base. And because the Nye family had many talents, they easily changed the coordinates and position of the asteroid from intergalactic navigation has been wiped out and many false protection codes have been set up to mislead others. The government collected their last signal 7 years ago, which was the most recent one after the incident on the Emperor planet. Although they never gave up trying to invade the Nye family's defense system, they never succeeded. Unexpectedly, this encirclement and suppression plan once again captured the Nye family's signal." Gu Chen looked a little excited. After getting a positive reply from Zhiji, he ordered Zhiji to copy the newly collected signal completely and send it back to the federal government. At the same time, he ordered all the personnel of the ship to prepare for combat. He even asked Zhiji to start preparing soft mechas for him. Lily followed him and listened to his orders one by one. He had no time to pay attention to her for the time being. "Raise your wrist and start contacting Su Ying. The Nye family's signal has been captured. We may be entering a war. Do you want to come with me? If you want to come, I will wait for you in the hall. After all, she brought Su Ying, so it's best to stay close to her and keep an eye on her. It's better. She knows Su Ying's strength and won't hold her back." Lily just finished her words. It took a while for Su Ying's voice to respond. "Everyone is well prepared in the hall. It can be seen at this time that the federal government is strong. There are 10 battleships in total for this trip. Each battleship has 60,000 soldiers accompanying it. Each battleship has 300 mechas." Because Gu Chen also accepted the task of testing Lily's strength, so the one prepared for him was not a single mecha. It is a mecha that can be ridden by multiple people. After determining the location where the Nye family's signal was captured, the intelligence began to calculate the Nye family's location and prepared to jump. At the same time, it was still attacking the defense system where the Nye family was located. I originally thought that the Nye family was full of talents and it would not be easy to do this. Unexpectedly, in about half an hour, the intelligence almost determined the approximate location. When the battleship rushed in this direction, a small star appeared in the optical brain display. The position of the planet was locked, and the battleship accelerated towards this place. Gu Chen was initially worried that cracking the defense code might not be successful. But 10 minutes later, the voice of the intelligent machine came. We have fully controlled the defense and can enter. The total attack time this time is 15 minutes. Within these 15 minutes, the defense system here has been controlled by us. After 15 minutes, the opponent's system will be fully refreshed. The adults have a total of you have 15 minutes to attack. I wish you all a smooth journey and a happy journey. As soon as the smart voice finished, the countdown time digital value began to appear on the optical brain display. The Atoy seconds were fading rapidly. Lily was stunned for a moment, and Gu Chen obviously didn't expect that this time it would be so smooth. The federal government has tried to crack the Nye family's password defense lock before, but it has been unsuccessful for several years. The Nye family's defense lock is very cunning. It exists for 15 minutes at a time. If it does not exist within these 15 minutes, if the password is cracked and control is obtained, then anyone who enters Nye's house and is identified by intelligence as an intruder will be completely eliminated as a virus. And if it is not cracked within 15 minutes, it will be replaced with a new password, and it will be more difficult every time. If you want to crack it again, you have to start from scratch. Because it is so complicated, it is not easy to destroy the program. Gu Chen originally thought that he might not succeed this time, but he didn't expect that the trip would go so smoothly. He had just asked the smartphone to crack the password, and it didn't take more than 2 minutes for the first try, and it was already successful. Could it be a scam? He read the information before, which highlighted how powerful the Nye family's defense system was. The intelligence system used was no worse than that of the federal government. This time, it was so smoothly broken through in a short time. Yes, she asked. Gu Chen was silent at first, and then shook his head. Impossible. This encirclement and suppression operation is very secretive. Even the other battleships did not set off from the Interstellar Alliance, but from other planets. The Nye family, no matter how powerful they are, they may not be able to predict our battle plan against them this time. Just like when he suddenly attacked the Emperor planet many years ago, the Nye family suffered the loss of being caught off guard. This time, the intelligent defense system was easily defeated, which may be the reason. Lily always felt that something was not right, but the next moment Gu Chen continued, if you are sure that the Nye family is cheating, do you think you can turn around and leave now? For this encirclement and suppression operation, the Federation paid a total price of more than 100 billion. No matter what, you have to get something before you can go back. The meaning of his words showed that Gu Chen actually doubted whether the Nye family was cheating, but he was a soldier and it was his bounden duty to obey orders. The federal government this time paying such a high price to send him out, he has a mission. It is impossible for him to escape quickly because of his greed for life and fear of death without completing the mission. If this is the case, even if he can escape from the hands of the Nye family today, I'm afraid I won't be able to escape being sent to a military court by the federal government after I return. Gu Chen's words made Lily fall silent. This is indeed the case. It was not easy to get the whereabouts of the Nye family. This was the key point of her mission, even though she knew that there was a tiger in the mountain. She must also go to Hushan, otherwise she will miss this time. With her own efforts, she will get another chance to face off against the Nye family. It was already minimal, so she stopped talking. Gu Chen ordered the battleship to rush forward with all its strength, and after determining the location of the Nye family, he issued an attack order. When the nanobombs were blasted out, they quickly alerted the Nye family. The other party started to fight back almost the moment Gu Chen launched the attack, as if they were not surprised by the attack. News of damage to the battleship kept coming from the smartphone. Because the damage was not to an important location, the alarm had not sounded yet. All command rights for the second entrance have been obtained. The mecha can enter from this position without encountering attacks. The adults must return within a limited time the opening of the optical brain machine, because the target of the battleship is too large. It is easy to attract Nihome attention. It will become a target to attract firepower. In addition, this time Guchen's encirclement and suppression of the Ni family, the main targets are those direct relatives of the Ni family, not the soldiers who command the battle. To truly destroy the Ni family base area must be destroyed. So the battle plan he formulated was to use most of his troops to fight head-on with the Ni family to attract their attention, and then he would lead a small group of troops to drive the mecha to invade the interior of the Ni family. Take away the Ni family's information and kill these direct descendants of the Ni family. Although people in the Ni family have a lot of ideas for development and application, they are not good at using force. As long as we can successfully enter the Ni family, this mission will be completed. The situation was urgent, and Guchen briefly shared his plan with Lily. Explain. I originally thought that Lily was not compatible with me, but this time it would take some convincing to convince her. Unexpectedly, Lily nodded as soon as he finished speaking. At this time, there was no need for him to waste any more time. The three of them got on the mecha. As soon as the cabin door was locked, the battleship opened, and the mechas that had been prepared all of a sudden rushed out, heading in the safe direction designated by the intelligence. Rushed in. As soon as it broke through the Ni family's defense system, light and darkness passed through the mecha window in an instant. The dazzling sunlight shone through the nanocrystalline glass on the three people inside the mecha. During the impact towards the ground, Ni the mechas driven by his family also charged in this direction, quickly scattering the Federation's mecha team. When Guchen finally got rid of the Ni family's pursuers, he was followed by thousands of Federation-driven mechas. The mecha had long since disappeared. At this time, I no longer care about looking for those people. The most important thing is to kill the Ni family. Guchen was very powerful and had S-end level strength. He was not afraid at this time. He drove his mecha to avoid the numerous defense nets and rushed straight towards the central building where the Ni family was located. The optical and nuclear power system is 500 meters ahead. Avoided, the intelligence gained control of the Ni family's defenses. At this time, the entire defense layout of the Ni family had been copied by the intelligence. It reminded Guchen to avoid these things. Guchen drove the mecha towards the center point. About 300 meters away from the center of the Ni family, Guchen was about to rush in with all his strength with his mecha, but the smartphone sounded an alarm. Little before the word heart could be uttered, a small and light mecha fell from the sky. After landing, it turned into a huge intelligent robot. The steel fist was clenched and it punched the mecha that several people were riding on. The heavy mecha flew upside down. There was a loud bang, and the moment the mecha was hit, the three people inside the mecha felt like they could not help but fly up. Although Guchen tried his best to control the mecha, the man who had just attacked him, I don't know what material the mecha is made of, but it actually caused the magnetic field in his mecha to become disordered. At this time, the originally clear image of the intelligence began to distort and beat, and the pointer on the optical brain display in front of the operating instrument began to jump randomly. After 2 seconds, the image of intelligence became weaker and weaker, and even the sound began to be blurred, and then there was no signal anymore. When the mecha was thrown about 100 meters away and fell heavily to the ground, if Lily hadn't been physically strong, she would have been injured by the force. But even if she wasn't injured, the feeling was uncomfortable. The same was true for Guchen. He cursed in his mouth and was about to speak. The mecha that had just succeeded in punching quickly rushed in front of several people and punched again. This time, it was a bang and a firm blow. It hit the mecha firmly, and the mecha was once again lifted into the air. The three of them were surrounded by the mecha. At this time, once the mecha was affected, it was completely trapped and passively beaten, and had no ability to fight back. The mecha crashed into a building not far away. The building collapsed with a loud noise, and a burst of dust and smoke surged up. At this time, the mecha's transparent protective shield lost control due to the optical brain, and the reinforced nuclear power defense system above lost its function. The nanocrystallized glass could not withstand the attack of this terrifying force, and it had already cracked like spider silk traces. If the situation continues like this, I'm afraid that after a few more punches, the defensive shield will completely disintegrate. This is not the answer to being beaten all the time. In this situation, instead of staying in the mecha and being beaten passively, it is better to jump out. I'm afraid you still have the power to fight back. Thinking of this, Lily glanced at Gu Chen. Go out. Gu Chen had the same idea as her. He didn't expect that the Nai family's mecha would be so destructive. In addition to being powerful, it could also affect the intelligence system on his mecha. He remembered that he was still in Beihe before. It was said in front of him that the Nai family's own fighting ability was not worth mentioning. The fact that the mecha he was driving was destroyed was like a slap in the face. Although Lily had no intention of laughing at him at this critical moment, but according to his character, his eyes were still cold. Because the mecha's intelligence was destroyed, it was obviously impossible for the intelligence to open the defense cover at this time. He simply clenched his fist and hit the mecha's protective cover with a heavy punch. Go up, want to use brute force to break open this protective shield and get out. But when the punch hit, except for the mecha shaking a few times and the spider web on the protective cover cracking more, the protective cover did not break. On the contrary, the Nai family's mecha struck again. He rushed over here, punched the mecha hard, and knocked the mecha away again. Lily couldn't bear it anymore and was about to break the defensive shield with Gu Chen, but Su Ying beside her stretched out her hand and touched the defensive shield. The originally strong defensive shield fell on his gloved palm. It was like ice cream under the scorching sun, melting at an extremely fast speed. After melting quickly and opening a large hole for a person to jump out, he jumped out first. Such an action shocked Gu Chen. He didn't see how much strength Su Ying exerted, but the firm protective shield was easily broken down by him. Gu Chen's eyes showed a vigilant look, and he decided to report this to the Federation after he returned. I have never heard of this hunter named Time before, and I was worried that he would cause trouble for me before. Now it seems that he can get together with the Queen, and this Time cannot be underestimated. Several people jumped out of the mecha one after another. When the Nai family's mecha struck again, Lily waved her palm, and a huge ice shield blocked the way of several people. With a boom of collision, the iron fist hit the ice shield, punching a huge groove in the thick ice shield, but with Lily's large amount of spiritual energy filling it, the ice shield returned to its complete appearance. The mecha retracted its arm and punched again. Gu Chen sneered twice, took a breath, and punched forward. After a few hits, it's time for me to fight back. He has now reached the 13th level of physical skills. After being strengthened by the soft mecha, his combat power is not inferior to that of a mecha. The huge mecha fist is no match for his fist. During the collision, because the person who came into contact with him this time was a flesh and blood body, there was not much noise. Both sides shook twice. Gu Chen relied on his own ability to forcefully receive the punch. Several people knew how powerful this mecha was just now. Lily glanced at Gu Chen and saw that this person's strength had indeed improved several levels compared to back then. The mecha didn't succeed with its punch, and red light flashed in the electronic eyes. Lily saw something bad. At this time, she didn't care to say anything to Gu Chen. Her body bounced up, and she held the robot-like thing's head with both hands. The ice froze the robot's head. Lily hugged the mecha's head and twisted it hard. Under her brute force, the robot's head, which she didn't know what kind of material it was made of, was twisted off at once by her. Throw it aside with a sound. To be continued. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan Erwr. Chapter 1063. As the Mecha Man's head was broken, many lines on his neck were broken, and fire was flashing at this time. However, the Nye family's advanced technology should not be underestimated. The Mecha Man's brain, which can be called the central nervous system, was destroyed. But a red light flashed on Shi's chest, but he did not fall down immediately. The break in the neck only caused its body to sway twice, as if it had quickly adjusted. However, at this time, it did not react even for a second. Gu Chen on the side saw the opportunity quickly, raised his fist, and struck hard with a punch. When she reached the Mecha Man's chest, there was only a click sound. Although the Mecha Man was not knocked away this time, the chest was sunken. Lily's hand patted its shoulder again, and the ice wrapped it tightly. He drank softly. Broken, the Mecha Man that was tightly wrapped in ice exploded immediately. The Mecha Man that looked majestic at the beginning was now broken into millions of pieces and scattered all over the floor. Only then did Gu Chen take back his hand and glanced at Lily, with fear in his eyes. Lily's move to destroy the Mecha Man just now seemed easy, but he had faced off against this Mecha Man before. The Nye family didn't know what materials they used to make such a thing. When he just punched out, his own coupled with the strength of the soft mecha, even if he faced a real small mecha, his enhanced strength was enough to shatter it. But when he hit the Mecha Man's chest, he only shattered it. She made a dent in her chest without destroying it, which is enough to prove how difficult this thing is. However, Lily destroyed a Mecha Man with one move, which proved that if she was entangled with her, once she was entangled by others, even if she is frozen, she is definitely capable of decomposing herself. Here we come. Gu Chen was alert. Instinctively, she wanted to stay away from Lily. Unexpectedly, Su Ying, who had not made any move since destroying the mecha just now, even said nothing when Lily and Gu Chen jointly attacked the Mecha Man, suddenly opened her mouth and said something. Gu Chen instinctively wanted to ask him, "What's coming?" Lily felt something was wrong the moment Su Ying reminded her. 2 or 3 seconds later, she felt a large group of things coming towards her. When she subconsciously turned her head to look, she saw a large number of things like the mechas rushing towards her in the sky. Like migrating birds falling from the sky, the black spots grow from small to large, getting closer and closer. Once entangled by these things, I am afraid that they will not be able to leave in a short time. This is the territory of the Nye family. Even if a few people are not afraid of these mechas, if they are entangled by these things and another thing comes along at the same time, it will be really troublesome. Lily made a prompt decision. He turned around and ran towards the building not far away. Walk. The Nye family is indeed technologically advanced. At a glance, there are probably thousands of these things. Lily just fought with them. The combat effectiveness of these mechas is no weaker than ordinary mechas. The most important thing is that these things are not, they are controlled by humans instead of mechas, so destroying them will have little impact on the Nye family's strength. Even the Star Alliance may not have so many such things. But in such a short period of time, the Nye family could easily dispatch so many mechas. At this time, Lily's idea was that the smart reminder on the previous mecha of this building belonged to the main building of the Nye family. Now that the initiative of the Nye family's defense system had been seized by Gu Chen's intelligence, the defense inside the building, the system must be weaker than usual, and if he and others break into it, if there is something important inside, and the Nye family throws a rat-proof weapon, these mechas may not dare to enter. Even if the Nye family wants to take their lives, they will not care about the Nye family's own losses. Then let's fight. If you can destroy some things in the Nye family, it counts. This is not your territory anyway. Destroying this floor will have no impact on Lily at all. When Gu Chen discovered these mecha men, his expression also changed. When Lily spoke, he quickly understood what Lily meant. The three of them rushed towards the building with all their strength. These mechas were extremely fast, but none of them were fuel efficient, just Lily. Gu Chen's own physical skills level was not low to begin with, and with the addition of soft mechas with the enhancement, he could run faster, but to their surprise, the fastest runner was not Lily or Gu Chen, but Su Ying, who was usually not talkative among the three. The first moment she noticed the mecha man coming, Su Ying took a step forward. Lily's eyes didn't catch his movements at all, and he had already appeared at the door of the building. Knowing that he had time-based powers, Lily was not surprised. On the contrary, Gu Chen looked like he was facing a formidable enemy. Several people rushed into the building. I wonder if it was because the Emperor Star was destroyed that day. Due to the sparse population of the family, there was no sign of living people at all when entering this building. Instead, electronic eyes with red light could be seen everywhere. The intelligent system's magnetic waves should have been destroyed by the Mecha Man's attack before. At this time, there is no way to contact it at all. Where there is a defense system, I can only take one step at a time. There was a long corridor inside the building. When the three of them broke in, a lot of red light had already shone on the three of them. I didn't know what kind of attack system these things belonged to. Gu Chen's whole body tensed up, and Lily suddenly retreated. When he saw Lily, the mecha turned into a human and rushed towards her. This time, Lily did not use ice powers, but used brute force to push her away. The lead mecha man fought back with his arms, and before it could punch again, he circled behind it like lightning and kicked the mecha man hard. Her attack was filled with spiritual power, and the mecha man staggered due to its kick, and fell into the hall. Lily immediately dodged in, suddenly bent down and picked up the mecha man's legs, and lifted him up. He hit an electronic eye not far away with all his strength. With a loud basket clang sound, the mecha man hit an electronic eye. I don't know what kind of material this mecha man is made of. It can be seen from the fact that it just punched and destroyed the intelligent signal system. I don't know if it's due to the material itself, or if it contains elements that destroy magnetic fields. I don't know what kind of offensive weapons these electronic eyes are. Lily doesn't dare to test them rashly. At this time, it happens to be using the mecha man made by the Nai family. When trying these red light electronic eyes, I hit the target accidentally. The mecha man was extremely heavy, plus the power of Lily's throwing was inside. When it hit the electronic eye, there was only a sound, and the electronic eye was knocked crooked, which was similar to what Lily had guessed before. At the moment of being hit, the electronic eye appeared similar to the mecha driven by Gu Chen before. After the light flickered a few times, it suddenly went out. Not only the electronic eye that was hit was affected. Even the other electronic eyes around him were affected. After 2 clicks, the light dimmed. The light at the entrance of the building suddenly dimmed a lot. The mecha that was thrown out fell back to the ground with a thud. When it shook its head and tried to stand up again, Gu Chen obviously thought about it from Lily's actions. He was overjoyed to find out how to solve this problem, and he didn't know if it was because of the unwillingness to admit defeat in his heart that he didn't want to be compared with Lily in front of her. So before the mecha man could get up, he took another step forward, picked him up, and threw him out again. At this time, all the back roads were blocked by mechas. Going out was not much safer than being inside the building. On the contrary, the target might be exposed after going out and be attacked more violently. The two of them took turns kicking the mechas and entered the corridor. Destroying all the red electronic eyes all the way until he reached the end of the corridor, he used brute force to destroy the mechanical door in front of him and entered. The scene he saw inside made Gu Chen take a breath. After passing the long corridor, the tight mechanical door was destroyed. The inside was not a heavily guarded parliament hall, nor was it the layout like when Lily had seen the twins' palace. Behind the door was a room about 2 meters tall. The wide platform was empty. A ropeway made of an unknown substance with silver light shining above the head leads directly to the opposite side. The interior of the main building of the Nai family has been completely hollowed out, and it is bottomless below because there is no light. I can't see clearly how deep the ground is, nor what is hidden underneath. It just depends on the eyesight of a few people. You can't even see how far away it is from the opposite side. The heavy footsteps of the mecha men chasing after me can already be heard. Because flying is no longer allowed in the building, this greatly limits the speed of the mecha men. However, being caught up in this way is also troublesome, fighting in such a narrow place. If they are accidentally squeezed below, and they don't know how high it is, and they don't know what dangers there are below, the situation will definitely be unfavorable to the three of them, but it will be fine for those mechas. They have no vitality and will fall. Not afraid either. When Gu Chen saw this, he couldn't help but cursed. This Nai family is really out of their mind. Who would build such a dangerous thing in the main building? At this time, he didn't have any intelligence at hand, and he didn't know what kind of dangers he would encounter along the way. He definitely couldn't retreat now. His expression was gloomy, and Lily frowned. Hang on it and slide over. The shining silver rope above the head is somewhat like the cable car on the earth in early ancient times. However, this ropeway is definitely much more dangerous than the ropeway on the earth. There should be other substances on it. The Nai family must be able to pass it. There was a specially designed suspension vehicle, but the three of them naturally didn't get this treatment at this time. Lily's heart moved and she raised her hand. An ice chain appeared in her hand. As soon as she put it on the silver rope, she heard there was a sizzling sound, and the ice cube originally created by Lily's high-level superpower melted the moment it hit the rope. The ice chain broke into two parts, and one part fell into the abyss. For a long time, the sound of the ice chain falling to the ground was not heard, which showed how deep the abyss was. I can get over like this. When Han Bing touched the silver cord, it melted in a short time, but that was because Lily did not infuse any more spiritual power. If she continued to injecting spiritual power can keep the ice cube from melting. When she spoke, she threw out an ice chain again and put it on. This time Lily maintained the pouring of spiritual power. Although there was still a constant sizzling sound, the ice chain was destroyed, and because of the spiritual power, Lily the repair of force did not break again. On the contrary, it maintained the shape of the ice chain despite being continuously destroyed. When Lily was currently practicing physical skills in cooperation with the Federation, she happened to break through the 15th level and had already reached it. She could borrow spiritual power for her own use, so the consumed spiritual power would not harm her at all. After she tried her own method and it worked, she did not input any more spiritual power and allowed the ice chain to be destroyed and broken by the silver cord again. Then he turned to look at Gu Chen and the two of them. How are you going to live? This should be made of mithril. The surface contains high voltage current. I am wearing a soft mecha. It has a certain resistance to this type of current. Gu Chen shook his head and jumped up first, reaching out and putting his hand on the silver rope. The silver cord that had made a sizzling sound when it came into contact with the ice chain before was indeed unresponsive when he held it in his hand. It seems that Gu Chen has no problem. I'll take the first step. After Gu Chen finished speaking, he ignored Lily and the other two, and took the lead in rowing forward vigorously, and disappeared in the blink of an eye. This time he leaves. Only Lily and Su Ying were left. Lily had her own way, but what about Su Ying? Although he has time powers, the lethality of such powers is too overbearing. If Su Ying touches this rope, I am afraid that this thing will be destroyed, and everyone will die here together. How can we get through? What about you? Lily glanced at Su Ying. Su Ying narrowed her eyes with a thoughtful look in her eyes. The next moment that made Lily's eyes almost roll out of her eyes was when he started to take off his pants quickly. What are you going to do? Lily's eyelids twitched, and Su Ying gave her a calm look. My protective clothing is made of special materials and can control my body's energy. But what does this have to do with us going there? Lily asked him back, and Su Ying's delicate eyebrows wrinkled. You can go over and connect us with your pants. His words were simple. But Lily immediately understood the meaning of his words. His time power has a certain corrosive effect on everything he touches. The poison of time is so poisonous that there is no cure. Even if he does not activate the power, for Su Ying, his own body is a toxin. If she wants to go over, she hangs on the silver rope, and he takes off the pants of the protective suit and connects them between the two. He can hug his legs through the pants, so that he can take him over. For now, this is indeed the best approach. It's just that Lily really didn't expect that such a delicate-looking young man like Su Ying could be so informal. It's really the image that I don't care about. The footsteps of the mecha man behind him were getting closer and closer, and there was no time left to think so much. Lily nodded bravely and swung the ice chain up again. She hung herself on the silver rope and felt Su Ying's hands go through the two trouser legs. He hugged his waist all of a sudden. When his hand touched Lily's waist, even though there was something between them, an inexplicable warm feeling surged into Lily's heart. Lily's heart moved, and both of their bodies stiffened. Su Ying subconsciously hugged her tighter. It felt as if the two had known each other for a long time. Lily was suspicious, but the next moment she put this feeling behind her. Because Su Ying hugged her waist, her chest was pressed tightly against hers through the protective clothing. On his hips, he stood with his legs facing back. This position is not difficult for people who have reached a certain level of physical training, but this awkward position made Lily feel that her face was red at this time, and she saw the silver rope on the two of them slid past quickly, and the delicate young man hung his naked lower body on Lily. When they passed the other end of the silver rope, Gu Chen was already waiting there. Lily swung the chain in the distance, and her body started to sway. While swinging forward, Su Ying suddenly let go, her body flew out like an arrow from a string, and landed steadily on the ground. Gu Chen's eyes almost fell out of his sockets. When he saw Lily jumping to the ground neatly, and when he saw Su Ying preparing to put on her pants, Gu Chen frowned, a little dissatisfied and a little angry. It doesn't matter if you two are in the battleship. What time is it now? We are in the Nai family's base camp. We are really desperate for our lives. Lily had never been grateful for the ice mask on her face. Gu Chen couldn't see her embarrassed face. She pretended to be indifferent and snorted. She didn't dare to look at Su Ying's face and ignored Gu Chen. Chen's words. Su Ying bent over and put on her pants, but had no reaction to Gu Chen's words. Gu Chen felt angry. Seeing that Su Ying was properly dressed, he looked around. There is no road, there is indeed no road. Several things that look like hover cars are parked on the side. The scene here is similar to that on the other side. It is also a platform 2 or 3 meters wide, with a cold and hard metal wall behind it. Gu Chen's hands were groping around on it, and a thin ice blade came out of Lily's hand. She was about to scratch on the wall to look for cracks. The next moment, the platform where several people were standing suddenly shook, and several people shook. For a moment, her legs were almost unsteady. Su Ying stood behind her at some point and reached out to support her waist. Before they could say thank you, the floor beneath their feet instantly turned into a small cage and began to fall rapidly. The speed was dizzying, and Gu Chen cursed in his mouth. Such a rapid fall was simply more terrifying than when the mecha reached its maximum speed. If the three of them weren't all very strong, the pressure of the descent would have been enough to push them away. All the bones in the person's body were crushed to pieces. Entering this cage at this time, it was difficult to break out of the cage with an unstable center of gravity. He didn't know what was underneath. Gu Chen was in a bad mood and didn't want to talk at all. Until 2 or 3 minutes later, the speed of descent dropped, it got faster and faster, and then stopped suddenly with a dong sound. At the same time, a dazzling light came. Perhaps she had adapted to the darkness. When Leng Hui saw the light again, Lily subconsciously squinted her eyes. Only when she opened her eyes after she slowed down and adapted to the light did she see clearly. The small space that originally trapped the three people fell to the ground. There was a layer of special glass in front of them. The three people seemed to be trapped in a cage. Not far away was a mithril space of about 1,000 square meters. Because of the angle of Lily's standing position above her head, she couldn't see clearly how high the space was. As she opened her eyes, a burst of applause sounded, and then a light flashed, and Lily was facing the past. A set of projectors projected the figure of an old man sitting in a chair on a smooth wall. "Good afternoon, welcome, friends from the Federation." The old man was not tall. He coughed twice when he spoke. His rapid breathing was truly transmitted through the projector, and his complexion and speech where the weak tone was enough to prove the fact that the old man was not in good health. But the moment he saw the old man, not only Lily, but also Gu Chen's expression changed. "This is Na Yi, the head of the Nai family. This old man with an inconspicuous appearance and a body that looks like a dead branch is the giant who supports the Nai family. Countless dangerous weapons have been invented under his hands. He is one of the few people in the Nai family with an active brain. Those who reached 80% are called a group of new humans. No matter how harmless he behaves at this time, Lily, who has read his information, still dare not underestimate him. At this moment, he still doesn't know where the whereabouts of his group may have been known by the Nai family, including after landing. I was chased by mechas, and the optical brain system was damaged, and I was forced to enter here. At first, it seemed to be just a coincidence, but now I think about it, it is all connected. I am afraid that I have fallen into someone else's trap, deliberately. I was forced into this place. There are traitors in the Federation," Lily sighed. "The data once said that the Nai family's defense system was very difficult to break. Gu Chen's brain destroyed the Nai family's defense system in a very short period of time and obtained it. When she took control of the situation, Lily felt that things were too simple. But when she raised questions, Gu Chen's statement convinced her. It was indeed too weird to think about it at this time, as if they were deliberately forced into this place by the Nai family. I don't know what the Nai clan leader's intention was in bringing them here." "Impossible," Gu Chen was immediately irritated by Lily's statement. He raised his voice and said, "Everyone in this operation is loyal to the Federation and the operation is kept secret." The army he led was accused by Lily of being a traitor, which made Gu Chen unbearable. Even if the enemy was in front of him, he still couldn't help but glare at Lily and shouted to stop her. On the projector, Na Yi was coughing, while the Rao family watched with interest the three trapped beasts in the cages blaming each other. His old eyes that were already dimmed showed sarcasm and undisguised deep hatred. "The Queen is right. This time we did get the news early and are ready to entertain the two distinguished guests from afar." He spoke with great difficulty, coughing several times every time he said a word. After saying this, he coughed as if his internal organs were about to jump out of his chest. After a while, he stopped breathing rapidly. To be continued. Carrot. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 1064. Gu Chen, I haven't seen you for so many years. How are you? I really want to congratulate you for stepping on the blood of millions of civilians on the Emperor planet to become a 5-star general. The old man closed his eyes, with a heavy look on his face. With a mocking look and a slightly hoarse voice, I want to see you again, but I have been thinking about it for 20 years. I originally thought that my broken body could not wait for the day to see you again, but I didn't expect that you came to the door yourself. Come. Queen, Gu Chen. Na Yi covered her mouth with a handkerchief and called out the names of Lily and Gu Chen in turn. When she saw Su Ying, she saw his delicate and lovely face, obviously because she didn't recognize him. Because Su Ying's identity was not found in the system, Na Yi regarded him as a federal unknown and did not pay attention to him. He quickly moved his eyes away and finally fell on Gu Chen. But finally you are here. I have been looking forward to this day for so many years. The Federation covets the research results of the Nye family. Many years ago, federal robbers robbed some of the results of the Nye family's labor. I originally gave these rubbish to you. I didn't care, but you should never have ruined my daughter. When Nye said this, the smile on his face suddenly faded. There was a look of resentment in his eyes, and a red light appeared on his thin face. He seemed to be energetic all of a sudden, and he actually got out of the gun chair. He stood up and stared at Gu Chen with a fierce expression. She has seen news about you on the interstellar network, and she has such a good impression of you. She likes you so much, but you are a butcher, you are a devil. When you attacked the Emperor planet, you destroyed her. So many wastes. I don't care if she dies, but my Achi is a genius. She could have led the Nye family to become more powerful. How could a fool like you understand her excellence? How could she die in the hands of a fool like you? How could she be so stupid to you? The lowly creatures look at you differently. After Nye finished speaking, she couldn't help but burst into tears. Lily looked at him and laughed and cried like a lunatic. He looked gentle and ferocious for a while, silent for a moment, and then sneered again. Your daughter is dead, and you think others should pay for her burial. You have also destroyed other people's homes and killed other people's children. It's just retaliation. What's there to cry about? She didn't expect it? Naichi, who was marked as unknown danger in the file, actually died, which really made her feel ridiculous. The federal government marked Naichi's file as unknown danger, and she had done this for this reason. Facing a powerful enemy, I didn't expect to hear about it from Nai at this time. Naichi was already dead a long time ago. Looking at the old man crying uncontrollably, what kind of advanced creatures are you, Nai family? You are not claiming to be a new human being, but you are really a new human being. Look. Your old body, Naichi, you are not yet 150 years old, but look at how old you are. Your Nye family is known as the new human race, but the more overdeveloped the Nye family's brain power is, the body will wear out faster. As soon as these words were spoken, not only Gu Chen was shocked, but also Nai, who had just stood up from the wheelchair, was furious. His originally malicious gaze had been falling on Gu Chen. Now he squinted his eyes and stared at Lily fiercely. His expression was so gloomy and terrifying, as ruthless as a poisonous snake that wanted to choose someone to eat. At the same time, his eyes were dim. A look of panic flashed across his old eyes very quickly. It's because the quality of the Nye family's projectors far exceeds those produced by the major planets in the galaxy. Every subtle change on Nai's face was completely preserved. In addition, because the image was enlarged, every wrinkle on his face, every red bloodshot in his eyes, and the slight gasping sound when he breathed. They were all presented in front of the three people by a projector. I'm surprised why I know this, seeing Nai's performance, by he was even more sure of this, the Nye family was looking for experimental subjects everywhere. After learning about the Pluto Prince, the Hua family's royal family had the talent for mental power, and when they learned that the Pluto Prince Xinghua family had given birth to two princesses in this generation, the Nye family, which had never interacted with other planets, was unexpectedly willing to exchange for a new type of mecha. At first, everyone in the interstellar world thought that the Nye family wanted to explore the mystery of the human body's superior mental power. After all, the Nye family is not the first to do this kind of experiment, but the real reason is probably because the Nye family themselves have realized that as the Nye family's brain becomes more active, excessive for developing applications, the higher the mental activity level of a person, the more likely it is that his life will be short-lived. Right. In a certain respect, although the application of mental power is different from brain activity, the principles are also similar. The Nye family must have realized that the higher the brain activity value, the sooner a person will die, so I started researching this area out of panic, hoping to decipher the secret of the brain's genetic code. The more something is lacking, the more existence one will pursue. This has been human nature since ancient times. People who lack money and fame will pursue fame and money all their lives. People who lack youth and beauty will pursue fame and fortune all their lives. The pursuit of youth and beauty has always been on the road to the end, and in addition to possessing an innately smart brain, the Nye family also lacks physical strength, mental strength, and supernatural abilities. What's more, their mental strength is not without hidden dangers. God is always fair. People like the Nye family are born with smart brains. They only know how to develop applications without having to pay the price for what they have worked so hard to get. If it hadn't been for the destruction of Pluto, if it hadn't been for the demise of the Hua clan, which caused Gu Chen to sanction the Emperor planet for violating the humanitarian law of the Galaxy Federation, I'm afraid one day the Nye family would reach out to some bodies again. Master magicians, I want you to decipher the secret of the strength of the human body, right? Lily's words shocked Gu Chen, who stared at her speechlessly, obviously not daring to do this. Believe. Na Yi, who was startled when he heard Lily speak at first, calmed down now. After hearing what Lily said, he couldn't help but sneered. My aging is due to the tragic death of my only daughter. I wanted to avenge Gu Chen and the Federation, so I ended up like this. The excellence of the Nye family cannot be imagined by trash like you. You talk so much, the nonsense you are talking about is just to cover up the ignorance, filthiness, and fear in your heart. He talked and talked. Her emotions became a little excited again, her face turned sickly red, and she coughed as if she was going to die. Lily looked at Na Yi as if she was about to die. Who is talking nonsense? You know it in your heart. According to the federal investigation records on the Nye family, direct descendants of the Nye family have never lived more than 150 years old. Today, human lifespan has far exceeded that of the ancient Earth. This number is really unbelievable. It is precisely because of this that the number of people on the Emperor planet has always been small. According to the federal information about Nai Chi, her brain activity reached over 90%. Such a smart person, the federal assessment of her dangerousness is unknown. At first, Lily thought the unknown meant something scary. After all, when she checked Su Ying's information before, the Federation's estimate of Su Ying's lethality was SS and level or above. When evaluating Nai Chi, the word unknown was used. At that time, Lily thought that Nai Chi was more dangerous than Su Ying, but later she realized that something was wrong. Su Ying's time power can almost be said to be the most invincible existence in this field. There is no cure for the poison of time. No matter how destructive the weapon is, no matter how fierce the Nai family can create a mecha. But all of this was vulnerable in the face of time. She then thought of what Su Ying called the Time Clan. Precisely because of the power of the Time Clan, this group had few heirs and the earth was small. She felt a little bit at that time. Something was wrong until she entered Nai's house and encountered a large number of mechas. When she entered the Nai's building, there were electronic eyes everywhere. You can see all kinds of advanced technologies. But no one of the Nai family was seen alive at all. Except for seeing Nai Yi's projection at this time, when they entered the Nai family's territory this time, they had not even encountered a Nai family member. The reason why the Federation gave Nai Chi an unknown assessment must be because her brain development has reached the highest level in the history of the Nai family. But at the same time, her body must also be the weakest reason for the Nai family. She herself does not have any mental power. She is not strong. With such a poor physique, she may even die at any time. According to the Nai family's laws, a person with an overactive brain like her may not even survive 50. What's the point of being proud of junk genes like your Nai family that should have been eliminated long ago? Who calls himself a new human being? Lily closed her eyes, her face covered in ice, expressionless. Because of the flaws, the Nai family intended to conduct experiments on living subjects. This was even more shameful than the Nye family's excuse to study mental power. Fortunately, when she entered the mission, the original owner's wish was impossible to achieve. Otherwise, if this happened once I really fell into the hands of the Nye family for the original owner's wish, I didn't know how much pain I had to suffer. I couldn't survive or die. Shut up. As soon as Lily finished her words, Nye was like an enraged lion. He shouted loudly and made a sharp cry, "What do you know? What do you know? You bedbugs, you scum with well-developed limbs and simple minds. If the Nye family had a strong body, if we could also practice physical skills, this galaxy should have been our Nye family's world. How can you understand the cleverness of our Nye family?" After he finished speaking, he paused. "My daughter is indeed in poor health, but she is the most talented child of the Nye family. Even if she is dead now, what she left behind is still enough to kill you. What qualifications do you have to tell her what to do? You are not even qualified to carry her shoes. My daughter is a genius, and her intelligence is beyond your imagination." After Nye finished speaking, she said in a subtle way. He laughed. "Hasn't the federal government always wanted to know about the Nye family's research plan? This time I tell you that my daughter had come up with a genius idea as early as 25 years ago. We call it why," Nye said here, paused for a moment, and then raised his hands like crazy. "The king's plan. At the same time, because of her accidental death, I call it the king's revenge plan." After Nye said this, he suddenly burst out laughing. I don't know if it was because of excitement. He was trembling all over at this time. Although he looked like he was not speaking fluently, he was not coughing as much as before. The king's revenge plan. Gu Chen's face changed drastically. He had mentioned to Lily before that there was indeed such a plan in the Federation's information about the Nye family. When Nye mentioned it, he glanced at Lily, with stillness in his eyes. There was a look of shock. The conjecture about the Nye family mentioned by Lily before, and the king's plan mentioned by Nye at this time, made Gu Chen feel a bad premonition inexplicably. The next moment, Nye smiled strangely. "You will have the honor to be witnesses of my King Achi plan, and at the same time, you two bodies. I accept it. I didn't expect that my Nye family would not be able to get the youngest daughter of the Hua family many years ago, and now I have a body." Magicians and superpowers came to the door at the same time, ha. Nye's laughter stopped abruptly. Then his figure disappeared and the projector was turned off by him. At the same time, the transparent glass that originally trapped Lily and the other three people appeared. It slowly rose upwards and released the three people from inside. The surroundings were empty, and Gu Chen took a tentative step. The metal material on the ground should be made of mithril. The texture was different when he stepped on it. Mithril was very hard, and most importantly, it had a certain degree of restraint against many magnetic fields. Effect. Therefore, even if the quantity is not large in the galaxy, the price has always been high. This is also the best material used to make the surfaces of battleships and mechas. But now there are so many mithrils in the Nye family, and the Nye family even made it into a mithril space. This is a kind of suppression for Gu Chen. The soft mecha that could enhance his strength has arrived. There was suddenly no room for action here, which made Gu Chen's expression look a little ugly. Lily walked out of the cage. He raised his head and glanced into the air. There was nothing all around. The light source above his head emitted a bright and dazzling light. The position where Nye's shadow was originally pointed split to both sides with a click sound. 10 unknown coffin-like long metal boxes about 2 meters high were pushed out, and then the opened metal wall closed again. After the signal light on the top of the box flashed twice, it quickly dimmed, and a mechanical female voice sounded. Countdown. 3, 2, 1. The words fell. The light flashed, and suddenly a loud bang sound was heard. The metal box that was originally tightly closed was kicked away by the contents inside, and 10 heavy metal lids suddenly flew towards Lily and the others. Several figures jumped out of it. Lily didn't care about Su Ying at this time, after dodging the attacks of the two lids. When she saw that a lid was about to hit her, she shook her hands into a fist and slammed the lid away. But before she could retract her fist, a clenched fist silently hit her in front of her. When the huge wind of the fist hit her face, she was too slow to dodge, and the corner of the fist hit her chin. A corner of the ice and snow mask was swept away, revealing smooth skin, which quickly turned blue and purple under the blow of the fist wind. Although the spiritual power quickly repaired the mask on Lily's face, the pain in her jaw still made Lily grit her teeth. When she raised her head to avoid it, she saw a figure waiting behind her, and she suddenly squatted down, supported the ground with her hands, and quickly swept a long leg around the ground. Wherever her leg swept, a huge ice and snow plate appeared on the ground, with sharp ice spikes coming out from around it. She quickly forced her attacker 2 or 3 steps away. When Lily stood up, she saw everything in front of her clearly and couldn't help shouting, "Gu Chen!" In front of them all were Gu Chen, all wearing Interstellar Alliance combat uniforms. About 20 years ago, when he was young, Gu Chen looked like him. The moment Lily called out Gu Chen himself was also touched by a few people. Another self is so entangled that my scalp is numb. Compared with these people, he looked much more stable than these Gu Chen at this time. Under the control of Mithril, the soft mecha on his body not only added an extra layer of defense, but also there was no other use, and his expression was very ugly at this time. As soon as Lily finished speaking, he couldn't help but curse, "What's going on?" As soon as he finished speaking, Na Yi's projector, which had been lost, suddenly lit up again. Na Yi, who was still able to sit in a wheelchair just now, was now lying on a bed, staring at this side. A silent girl was waiting beside him, wiping his hair with a handkerchief from time to time. Cold sweat. Haha, the king's plan. My daughter, Nai Chi personally led and set it up. How about it? His voice was very hoarse, and every word he spoke seemed to be very laborious. These are cloned from my daughter's collection of your factors. She liked you so much, even the plan she proposed was based on you, Gu Chen, but she died in your hands. Do you know what you missed? Look, these are all you, these people with your strength and your body. This plan is so perfect. We, the Nai family, are gods and can create humans with such perfect bodies. They are not even worse than the real you, Nai Yi said, feeling a little angry. Got up. Gu Chen wanted to scold his mother at this moment. Lily turned around and saw his green and red face, feeling gloating in her heart. While Nai Yi was talking, a Gu Chen rushed towards Lily again. Lily quickly dodged it. After a few simple exchanges with him, Lily discovered that the strength of these Gu Chens was no worse than the real Gu Chen now. Even stronger. It is similar to Gu Chen when wearing a soft mecha, which is equivalent to reaching about the 15th level of physical training. Her own physical training happens to be at the 15th level. If Na Yi's so-called King's Revenge plan is just that, then even if the opponent has more people than herself, Lily is not afraid anymore. After a few tricks, she felt confident, and no longer struggled with these people. When a Gu Chen rushed towards her, Lily suddenly threw out an ice chain in her hand. With a raise of her hand, the ice chain Gu Chen was tied up tightly. She planned to bundle all these so-called clones together, freeze them and then destroy them. But before she could take action again, the sound of the whip piercing the air rang out. From the corner of Lily's eye, she saw a light blue shadow swinging toward her. She was startled, and subconsciously turned her body sideways, reaching out to use the whip. Wei grabbed her, and the clone Gu Chen who had been tied up by her took the opportunity to break the ice chain that bound her and punched her again. A Gu Chen stood far away, waving an ice chain that was indistinguishable from Lily's hand. Before Lily could react, once the ice chain in his hand was caught by Lily, the eyes of Gu Chen without blinking, he shook his hand, and the ice chain in his hand was suddenly replaced by an ice gun, and he stabbed her in the chest. This was clearly not a skill possessed by Gu Chen, but her ice ability. Lily's heart sank. She held the tip of the ice gun and folded it with force. The tip of the spear broke with a sound, and the next moment Gu Chen he turned the broken tip of the ice spear into an ice chain again and drew it towards her again. The other Gu Chen cooperated with this Gu Chen who could use ice powers to attack Lily. This was not fighting the Nai family at all, but it was equivalent to fighting himself in disguise. Lily, I couldn't figure out the details of these things, so I didn't dare to take action rashly for a while. I could only block and dodge from left to right. For a while, neither side could do anything to the other. Gu Chen on the other side is in a similar situation to her. The strength of these Gu Chens is equal to him. Even because he does not have the assistance of soft mechas, the strength of these Gu Chens is even higher than him. If it weren't for the fact that clones are always not as flexible as real people, and Gu Chen has rich combat experience, I'm afraid he would have already suffered a loss at this time. But if this situation continues, he is not sure how long Gu Chen can persist. Two Gu Chens followed Su Ying. Whenever these Gu Chens were about to approach him, he suddenly took a big step forward. Due to time constraints, these people could never catch up with him. For some reason, these clones seemed unable to clone his powers. They chased after him for a long time without even touching the corner of Su Ying's clothes. Among the three of them, Su Ying looked the most relaxed at the moment. Do you know the genius of my Achi? In the projector, Na Yi saw Lily and Gu Chen running away in embarrassment, laughing and coughing. How can you idiots imagine how smart she is? Your abilities and physical skills will be collected into factors and integrated into these fighting machines. As long as you are caught by me and crack the genetic code, you will finally extract good things one day and improve the situation of my Nai family. He looked at Gu Chen's ugly face and spoke somewhat triumphantly. Lily was not as worried as Gu Chen. These clones are indeed powerful in physical skills, but their ice abilities are not that great. At most, they are only level 1. They serve as a harassment. Their lethality is not great for her at all. It seems like there is something inside the clones that can make ice. The method is just to simulate ice cubes. Before, she was just surprised that these things could emit ice-type powers, and was a little worried. But now she breathed a sigh of relief after hearing Na Yi say that these clones had collected the factors of her own ice-type powers. To be continued. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan ERWR. Chapter 1065. If it's just this level, it's still too early to catch yourself. Gu Chen on the side was already in danger, and Lily no longer held back at this time. She threw the ice gun she was holding on the ground and put her hands on the ground. Frozen for thousands of miles, the ice and snow began to spread around her body with her body as the center. Several clones tried their best to resist, but in front of Lily, whose superpower had reached level 10 or above, this resistance was of no use. Lily raising one hand, he drew an ice shield and hit Gu Chen with all his strength. At this time, he was being beaten by two clones. The two Gu Chen clamped him in front and back. Gu Chen punched out at the same time, aiming at his head. Gu Chen was in a dilemma at this time, and saw Lily on his left started shouting the words frozen miles without distinguishing between friend and foe. During the Battle of Twin Stars many years ago, he had fought with Lily and suffered a loss from her move. When Lily's power was not high, it almost killed him when she used it. At that time, he still had a soft machine. With the help of under the siege of two selves, Lily's strength is much higher than before. In addition, the opportunity of her soft mecha is ruined. She still uses this move. Gu Chen I was anxious and angry. The surrounding air dropped rapidly, and a large number of snowflakes condensed at a speed visible to the naked eye. Gu Chen was so anxious that before he could open his mouth to curse, an ice shield flew towards him with great force, hitting the left side of his body hard. He originally thought that with his 10th level physical skills, the shield might not be able to do anything to him, but he didn't expect that he was hit by the ice shield without even humming, and his body flew straight to the right. At the same time, the two clones mechanically jumped up and took action. But because Gu Chen in front of him had been swatted away by Lily, his prey failed. At this point, you can see the dullness of the clone. After all, it is not a real person, and I don't know if it is because of the lack of momentum. The two punched at the same time, and because there was no middleman, their fists hit each other hard, and there was a boom sound on the two clones under the influence of this force. At the same time, he flew upside down for 2 or 3 meters and then landed on the ground. At this moment, the ice and snow created by Lily quickly wrapped around the two clones, wrapping their ankles in it. At that time, Lily could use the 4th level ice power to freeze Gu Chen, who had the enhanced strength of the soft mecha at that time. At this time, she naturally had the ability to freeze these subjugated people who had only appearance but no inner nature. She would freeze 10 of them. A clone was frozen in it, and a cage made of ice was used to trap the 10 people. Among the layers of ice, several clones still had some mobility at this time because they were not living bodies. Struggling desperately, Lily slapped her hands on the ground. Shatter! There was a click sound of breaking the ice, like a spider web, and the cracks were shaken out from under her hand, gradually spreading, and finally there was a bang sound, including 10 clones. These clones mixed with fragments were mixed with ice cubes, broken into millions of pieces, and fell to the ground with a ding-ding-dong-dong sound, like a rain of ice chips. It turned out to be such a high-level power, I can't let you go. Seeing that the clones he created were destroyed by Lily so quickly, Nai was not angry, but stood up with some excitement. The physique is more perfect than Gu Chen's, and he also has ice powers, ha ha ha. He coughed twice, and Lily curled her lips. At this time, Gu Chen was being photographed. Lily yelled shatter before landing. He also saw the scene when Lily used her superpower just now, creating ice on such a large area and with such lethality. Able to wrap up 10 people with the same strength as himself and strangle them instantly, he has been pursuing the queen for nearly 10 years. She has been thinking about the battle between the two twins back then, and she was unwilling to lose to her. At this time, it seemed that she had been working hard, but she didn't stop. She was indeed no match for her, but when Nai also said this, at this time, Gu Chen still couldn't help but feel a little dissatisfied. Lily glanced at him and saw that he was not dead yet, but his face was a little ugly, so she ignored him. "Won't you let me go?" Nai's words made Lily couldn't help laughing. Everyone likes to say this to me. As soon as she finished speaking, Gu Chen's face turned dark as he fell to the ground. Many years ago on Twin Stars, he also said this to Lily. At this time, Lily replied to Nai like this, which made Gu Chen's face turn blue and white. Here, his specialties were suddenly suppressed, which made the proud Gu Chen endure it. No, he moved his lips and then closed them tightly. If you want to keep me here, it depends on whether the Nai family has the ability. After Lily finished speaking, she glanced around. This is a sealed mithril space. She has to figure out how to open it except for the landing when she came. The door was where the 10 clones were released before. Thinking of this, Lily narrowed her eyes and was about to rush in that direction when the desperate Nai smiled. "I just gave you an appetizer. I didn't expect your powers to be so high. I really underestimated you." He coughed twice, a look of madness flashed in his eyes, and the next moment the closed wall opened again. This time no iron box appeared again, but Gu Chen kept jumping out of it one after another, and Gu Chen's face turned pale at that moment. One Gu Chen is no match for you, nor are 10, so what about hundreds or thousands? Nai reached out to cover her mouth, the flesh on her cheeks twitching. After 20 years of continuous testing, if you want to create such a pile of rubbish is easy for us, so enjoy this feast. Ha ha ha. Countless Gu Chens jumped into the hall one after another. Clones with such strength were actually mass-produced for the Nye family. Gu Chen's heart sank, and a bad premonition came to him. He tensed his body and turned his head to look at Lily, only to see that she had her face covered and couldn't see the expression on her face clearly. These people are easy to eliminate, but what is difficult to deal with is the thing that can create clones. If they are not found and destroyed, I am afraid that even the best physical strength of these people will be worn out here. Lily decided to fight quickly. She quickly rushed to Gu Chen's side and shouted, "Get up!" An ice and snow cage quickly trapped Gu Chen and Su Ying in it. The next moment, a large number of Gu Chens appeared in it. After losing the target, he set his sights on Lily. When he rushed towards her, Lily muttered quickly, "The world is infinite, the water dragon borrows the method." A large number of water traces began to form in the originally sealed space. Na Yi in the projector widened his eyes and saw Lily quickly create a water dragon. The unknown creature raised its head and screamed, and its body grew bigger and bigger. After a while, it turned out that it reached a height of 30 or 40 meters, and quickly started to circle around these clones. Every time it hit a clone, it would cause a lot of damage. If the physical quality of these clones hadn't been according to the original Gu Chen, I am afraid that the attacks of these water dragons alone are enough to tear these fake Gu Chen to pieces. What is this? Na Yi stared at the projector and trembled all over. 5 thunder curs, broken. Lily waved her arms, and the huge water dragon body entangled all the clones, and the muffled sound of rumbling thunder sounded. The next moment, thunder and light burst out in the mithril space, and countless lightning appeared out of thin air, bombarding them heavily. When it comes to these clones, water can conduct electricity, and the sound of sizzling electricity keeps ringing, and there is a burning smell all around. The group of clones that had just been released by Na Yi were all killed and injured under the 5 thunder curs. Lily broke the ice shield that locked Gu Chen with one punch. He was so cold that his face turned blue. Seeing the embarrassing scene in front of him, he didn't care. After asking more questions, Su Ying came out from the other side. The clone gate that had just been opened in mithril space had not been locked because it was releasing the clones. The 3 of them went in this direction to eliminate these things while running towards this place. Go. After eliminating the dull clones who only knew how to fight and blocked the way, a few people rushed into the mithril space. This was an underground world that was not inferior to the previous mithril space. It had already formed a large scale and was controlled by intelligence. It no longer required human intervention. The production chain appeared in front of everyone. Many clones were produced and released after their bodies were generated. In the transparent cover, the clones who looked exactly like Gu Chen were lying quietly. This scene was horrifying. "These disgusting things from the Nye family," Gu Chen cursed. "There is no mithril here. His soft mecha that was originally affected has regained its combat effectiveness. Seeing so many of them here is definitely not for Gu Chen. It was a wonderful experience." He punched the transparent glass with some hatred, and there was a boom sound. Logically speaking, after Gu Chen's strength recovered, his punch should be astonishingly powerful under the reinforcement of the mecha, but he didn't expect that his punch hit the glass. The glass was made of someone who didn't know what it was, and it even shook when he hit it. Not even a moment, Gu Chen was surprised. He was a little angry after his strength was suppressed in front of Lily. He finally recovered his strength. He had just gained some confidence, but he didn't expect that he would be hit again. His expression changed drastically, and he punched the glass again, harder and harder each time, but he couldn't break the glass shield at all. It's useless. After Lily quickly checked the production chain, she saw Gu Chen's actions and frowned and reminded, "The body materials of the mecha we destroyed before and the clones we killed before are once again they were sent back to be optimized to create brand new clones. The Nye family's technology is indeed powerful. If this continues, the Gu Chen created by the production chain will become more powerful than the last one." They will have the strength of 15th level physical training at the beginning. After being refined again, I am afraid that the strength of these clones will reach level 20 or above. To be continued. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 1066. Even if these clones don't have real superpowers, they won't be easy to kill just by practicing physical skills and physical strength. Gu Chen was not a fool. Hearing Lily's words, he was unconvinced and felt faintly weak in his heart. And to make these things, the strength of this glass must be far better than these clones. After Lily finished speaking, she used all her strength to hit the glass hard. At first, Gu Chen was worried that the things he could not break would be destroyed by Lily. When she saw that the glass did not change, he breathed a sigh of relief quietly. Then, after discovering the situation of several people, he somewhat worried. Lily has tried supernatural powers and physical skills, and even tried to bombard her with the 5 thunder curse, but it has no effect. These Gu Chens are still being created in an endless stream and cannot be killed. After killing them, they will be refined again. Then the strength will be stronger and the trouble will be greater. A few people could only dodge blindly. Over time, they would inevitably get hurt. There is no way out of this place. The surrounding area has been sealed off, and without a smart map, the only way to really get out is to destroy this place. Thinking of this, Lily narrowed her eyes and fell on Su Ying. This young man who was going to come with her at the beginning has now become the key to her completing the mission. She and Gu Chen cannot destroy things with brute force, but for Su Ying, all this is not a problem. He possesses the poison of time. No matter how strong something is, it is still unable to withstand the setbacks of time. To destroy this place, only Su Ying can do it. When her eyes fell on Su Ying raised her lips and started to take off her gloves. Lily turned to look at Gu Chen. Master Gu. Gu Chen didn't know what was going on. He didn't know why she was calling him at this time. The next moment, a fist hit her face, carrying a biting frosty air. He was not prepared for Lily to attack him, and by the time he realized it was already too late to hide, Gu Chen was furious and his head was quickly frozen by a large amount of ice. Lily didn't want his life, she just wanted to distract him for a while. After Su Ying's slender and beautiful fingers were freed from the control of the gloves, they gently covered the glass. The glass that Lily and Gu Chen could not break before could not be broken in his hands for 2 or 3 seconds. Kung Fu, after twisting, all the Gu Chens inside disappeared. The sound of the machine gradually stopped, and Na Yi's somewhat angry voice sounded, "What kind of ability is this? My king's plan. My Aki's king's plan was destroyed in your hands. I want you to die here." Na Yi's face could no longer be seen, but his voice could still be heard by several people. Amidst the clicking sound, a large amount of water began to accumulate on the ground, and the sound of electricity around him became louder and louder. Na Yi's roaring words about destroying them and killing them were still ringing in her ears. The water rose higher and higher. Na Yi obviously didn't want to simply flood them with water. Lily suddenly thought that she was also on a mission to enter the interstellar world. Regarding destroying a city by conducting electricity with water, she turned to look at Su Ying. No, Na Yi wants to electrocute us. Na Yi really wants to electrocute them. The king's revenge plan, the goal that the Nai family has worked hard for more than 20 years, is finally coming true. It took a lot of effort from the Nai family. How many people in the Nai family have made efforts for this, but now they were destroyed by Su Ying's poison of time power. The Nai family's hard work was destroyed. The appearance of clones seemed to allow them to find a way to work hard for target. But now Su Ying has destroyed these, and Na Yi is getting old. He was about to die, and his hope was destroyed. He couldn't bear it anymore and wanted to kill several people here. When he just let them in, Na Yi never thought that these people would be able to destroy these devices. These devices were tested when they were first made. Even the most advanced nanolight nuclear weapons could not destroy these devices when they were attacked. But why was it destroyed in the hands of Su Ying? The light in her heart was extinguished. At this time, Na Yi was already on the verge of madness. The water became more and more flooded. The next moment, Su Ying frowned and said to Lily, "Don't step on the ground, stay away from him, with this look in his eyes mean." Lily grabbed Gu Chen, who was still trying desperately to break through the ice, and the two jumped out of the water. Su Ying's protective clothing was soaked by the water and clung to him tightly. He closed his eyes, and this person was half submerged in the water. The young man with the tall body slightly raised the corners of his mouth, as if the years had been quiet and leisurely. But the sealed space began to destroy around him. The aging and discoloration of the walls turned into dust and fell to the ground. The sizzling sound of electricity stopped. Because the smartphones and equipment were damaged, Na Yi's voice could not be heard. In the blink of an eye, the building fell to the ground silently. Dust was still floating in the air, and Lily fell from the sky to the ground. Surrounded by grey dust, the three of them were in a huge underground pit, and no sound could be heard above their heads. There was a shallow layer of water under the ground that could cover the ankles of three people. Lily summoned a water dragon to send the three people away from the ground. When Gu Chen landed on the shore, he broke the ice on his head. His handsome face was a little blue from the cold, and there were scars in many places. His lips turned white. Seeing everything in front of him, he was a little shocked. "What's going on? What happened?" He was restrained by Lily just now and didn't see what Su Ying did. He didn't even hear the sound of fighting, but the Nai family's main building was completely destroyed. But at this moment, Lily couldn't answer what happened. She ran to the next building, Su Ying followed her, and Gu Chen, whose expression was mixed with blue and white, hesitated for a long time and followed. The Nai family is indeed vulnerable to physical damage due to overdevelopment of their brains. Many members of the Nai family have died in the past 20 years, and now only a few are left. Lily found Na Yi in a building. He was already dying. Huo, when he saw Lily and others coming over, his expression was gloomy. The Federation's warships had already been shot down by the Nai family because of their preparations. Hundreds of thousands of people brought by the Federation this time died in the Nai family's ambush. Nowadays, there are not many heirs left in the Nai family, which can be regarded as retribution. When Lily was about to eliminate all these people, people from the Federation arrived. Gu Chen should have sent a request for help to the Federation when the mecha was destroyed earlier. When people from the Federation come, Nai, as a special talent, will definitely not be killed. At this time, the people from the federal government did not bother to say hello to Lily and the others. They first moved the dying Na Yi onto the battleship. He grinned proudly and stared at Lily. His expression made Lily's eyes narrow. The Queen's contribution to the Federation this time is enough to make your achievements recorded in history. The person sent by the Federation was not the man who had contacted Lily before, but another man with the 5-star War General mark. When he said this, a combat team following him aimed their nuclear weapons at Lily. Lily's eyes moved. What are you going to do with the Nai family this time? Because the matter is so important, the federal government will announce their execution after convening a meeting. There are not many people left in the Nai family. The hundreds of thousands of elites who escaped from the Emperor planet are now dead, with tens of thousands of them dead. Even though they are distributed on this planet, each of these people has super talents and can make outstanding contributions to the Federation. Although they bear the sins of killing many people many years ago, they are even greater. It is possible that these people will not pay the price for the crimes they committed, and may change their identities and become talents serving the Empire. For the sake of Lily and others' super strength, seeing the large pit in the ground that exceeds tens of thousands of square meters, the 5-star general didn't know how these people did it. If others asked this, he didn't know how to answer at all, but when Lily asked this question, he hesitated and still spoke honestly. That is to say, it is possible that they will be acquitted. Lily's voice turned cold. The general hesitated for a moment and nodded. It is also possible that they will be sanctioned because they violated federal humanitarian laws. Lily sneered twice and stopped talking. It was just that he might be sanctioned, but what kind of sanction he didn't say. If the Federation couldn't avenge Pluto Prince Star, then she would do it herself. When it comes to revenge, you still have to rely on yourself. Several people entered the battleship one after another, and many of them were still carrying the Nye family's equipment. Because the cloning technology was completely destroyed, a lot of information was placed in that building and was destroyed by Su Ying. The people of the Federation still trying hard to save him. Returning to the Federation, because Lily captured the Nye family this time, she was regarded as an important figure and stayed. Half a month later, the Nye family, the S-class pirate group that committed the crime in the past, was captured and brought to justice. The case became famous all over the world. The three of Queen, Time, and Gu Chen have now become the most popular figures on the interstellar network. Lily's strength gets certified and become the only S-class huntress in the galaxy. Ma'am, is Time here? Because Su Ying accompanied Lily to take over the Nye family this time, Lily temporarily gave him the codename Time, and under the operation of the federal government, he became an A-level hunter. Tomorrow is the time for the trial of the Nye family. After waiting for half a month, Lily patiently stayed in the Federation just for this day, but one day early, people from the Federation came to ask about Su Ying. Lily was a little suspicious. Looking at the guards coming. Do you have a problem with him? Because in the Nye family's reaction, Mr. Nye testified that your husband, Shi Guang, has extraordinary energy, so the government hopes that you and your wife can cooperate. We only need to provide Shi Guang with some energy and blood, and we, to be continued. Carrot. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 1067. You can leave. Lily interrupted the guard and said coldly. The Nye family is a criminal, and I really can't believe that the Federation listens to his words. What's more, my husband and I are not prisoners of the Federation, and we don't need to accept these treatments. As long as we wait until the Nye family's trial is over, we will get out of here. The moment Su Ying hugged her waist in Nye's house, even though she was separated by protective clothing, she still vaguely felt the familiar aura coming from Su Ying. At this moment, Lily thought of Li Yangzi, who stayed in the mission, and he lost his memory because of the seal. He couldn't recognize himself, but because of his seal on his body, the two people would always feel somewhat different when they touched each other. She thought of Art Uri from before, and even Zhong Yan from a long time ago. She thought of Su Ying, but it seemed that she had no chance to try it this time. Su Ying had a time-based superpower, and he was an incompetent person to anyone. The poison that can be cured by medicine cannot be touched by Lily. It's a pity that we can only get along slowly in the future and see if we can use other methods to remind him of memories. Because she had no clue about this mission before, she couldn't focus on Su Ying. But after this incident is over, she will try other methods to see if she can remind Su Ying of something. If it was really Li Yangzi, then he would definitely react to his touch, even through protective clothing. He once said that if he met him again, he would tell himself a way to change his current situation. Just because the two of them still have a long time, Lily is not in a hurry about this for the time being. After sending away the entangled guards, Su Ying was still very close to Lily. He no longer rejected Lily's closeness as before. That time, Lily was not the only one who felt close to her. He also seemed to realize something and sometimes wanted to get close to Lily. He no longer ignored her as he did before, occasionally talking to her, and the time he spent with her rarely entered the gap of time. His behavior confirmed Lily's suspicions. The Nye family was put on trial the next day. Lily, as one of the people who captured and brought him to justice, also attended the trial. Because the Nye family had committed too many crimes and could not be listed again and again, this trial was broadcast live on the interstellar network throughout the galaxy and reached countless interstellar netizens. You can watch this event directly on the interstellar network through a projector. Before that, the Federation did not hide the fact that the Nye family was captured and brought to justice. During the half-month wait, the leaders of the Milky Way, including the Interstellar Alliance and other independent planetary governments, jointly participated in the trial about the Nye family. The trial was held in the Interstellar held on the territory of the Alliance. It brought together all the major leaders in the galaxy. Security was very tight, and before the trial was held, a large number of security forces had already surrounded the trial venue. Lily and Su Ying, as two of the important figures in the arrest of the Nye family, were invited to attend the trial of the Nye family. The leaders of the planetary governments sat on both sides of Nyatis Square, with projectors aimed at every corner of the venue. When Lily and Su Ying sat down in their special seats under the leadership of the guards, the venue had already been arranged. First, the federal spokesperson told the Nye family's alleged crimes. In addition to the destruction of Pluto by the Emperor more than 20 years ago, there was also the robbery of a planet by the Emperor. The crime of massacring the original inhabitants of the planet, etc. The venue was quiet, and the only thing that could be heard was the spokesperson describing the crimes committed by the Nye family one by one. It was not until the words fell that the spokesperson said seriously, "Now, with the joint efforts of the federal government, the Nye family will be arrested." He introduced the heads of governments of each planet respectively, which delayed another nearly 2 hours. It was not until the end that the remaining leaders of the Nye family were brought up. Compared with many years ago, the remaining members of the Nye family are almost dead, but their number is at least around 20,000. In order to prevent these Nye family members from getting entangled and causing trouble, after the Nye family was swept away, these Nye family members, since the people were detained separately by the federal government, it was naturally impossible to bring 20,000 people to the venue at the same time. Therefore, only a few elite Nye clan members headed by Nye Yi were selected and brought up. After not seeing each other for half a month, Nye Yi looked even more dejected. He was still wearing the hospital clothes of an Interstellar Alliance felon. He had an old look on his face, a sneer on his face, and the sound of coughing could be heard through the venue's loudspeaker. The instrument is completely transmitted into everyone's ears. He even smiled when he heard about the accusations against him, as if he was amused by the situation. Lily sat in a specific seat in mid-air, staring down at Nye Yi. He didn't seem to be afraid of death. I don't know if it was because of some agreement the federal government had reached with him during this period, or because he knew that his life was approaching. Reason, he behaved very calmly. I believe that the Nye family has a special status. When they became a pirate group, they caused too much harm and caused tens of millions of deaths to Pluto and its inhabitants. For such a heinous crime, the Nye family should be sentenced to death. Death penalty. The arguments between the pros and cons in the court were heated. Everyone's eyes were focused on the pro and con parties who were arguing non-stop, and the Nye family, including the Star Network, which was watching what could be called the trial of the century. None of the ordinary people noticed that in a corner of the venue, several figures quietly entered the venue and sat down in a specific seat after being taken to a specific seat by the guards. I object. As soon as the person who called for Nye Yi and others to be sentenced to death finished expressing his opinion, the representative of the opposition stood up. As we all know, since the establishment of the Galactic Federation, it has always upheld the principles of fairness, justice, and justice. With the advancement of human civilization, the death penalty has long been deprived of in the interstellar era. We have no right to take anyone's life, every life all should be respected. Then why does the Nye family take other people's lives? Don't you think what you said is contradictory, As soon as the representative of the negative side finished speaking, the representative of the positive side immediately grasped the situation and began to ask, the same goes for the Nye family. They have not deprived anyone of the right to exist, but they have taken countless lives. Regarding this, the imperial planet has been punished. It is precisely because the Nye family's behavior towards Pluto violated the federal humanitarian law that the imperial planet has now been destroyed. People who have done wrong things have been punished, so we should not always picking on the person's sore spots. The two sides argued so fiercely that the person presiding over the trial this time had to take a 15-minute break. Lily watched as a federal doctor came forward to check Nye's body to prevent him from suddenly passing out on the court. 15 minutes later, it was determined that Nye was in good health, and the trial resumed. The Nye family cannot be killed. The Nye family has scientific and technological talents that can serve the galaxy. As long as our strength can be further improved, this will be a good thing for the entire human race. The dispute started again, and the opposing side just started. After mentioning his own reasons, the affirmative immediately argued. The king plan studied by the Nye family this time, let alone being destroyed in the war, even if it still exists, is it good or bad? Even the Nye family does not know this. The purpose of their research is starting point, not to benefit all mankind, but to improve the physical condition of the Nye family. Both sides were reasonable. When it came to the end, the opponent finally couldn't bear it anymore. Whether the Emperor seeing Nye family is guilty or not, I think none of us have the right to criticize. The ones who really should make the decision are the direct victims. To put it nicely, the natives of the galaxy captured by the Nye family this time were completely destroyed. Where are there any victims now? Regarding the argument put forward by the opposition, the representative of the affirmative side first snorted coldly, and then sarcastically said, unexpectedly, as soon as he finished speaking, the representative from the opposing side started laughing. The inhabitants of the original planet did die in the war, but as we all know, Gu, the son of the Minister of Military Affairs of the Interstellar Alliance, a young 5-star general of the Interstellar Alliance, and the one who participated in the encirclement and suppression plan and made great contributions to the Nye family this time. Mr. Chen, I think you always know, right, this representative of the opposition is a young and slender woman, wearing silver-rimmed glasses, her hair is meticulously combed, and she is wearing a fitted skirt. She looks knowledgeable and elegant. His wife's surname is Hua, and she happens to be the eldest princess, Huafua, who was the orphan of the royal family on the planet Pluto in the past. What if she wants to speak as a victim? As soon as the woman finished speaking, Representative Zhang Fang was speechless and could no longer speak. If we say who is the biggest direct victim of the Nye family, it is indeed the Hua family of Pluto Prince. When the people of Pluto Prince died under the fire of the Nye family and the planet was destroyed, Huafui was a survivor. If she wanted speaking, it is indeed impeccable. The representative from Zhangfang spread his hands and made a gesture of invitation. Nearly 10,000 pairs of eyes in the venue, as well as countless gazes on the interstellar network, focused on the family of four. Lily's eyes also moved over. It was the figure who quietly entered the scene while the two sides were arguing. Gu Chen was wearing the military uniform of the Empire, looking handsome and very charming. Huafui's face was a little pale. She was sitting next to Gu Chen, looking delicate and timid. Her soft and boneless body moved slightly under the gaze of everyone. Trembling, half close to Gu Chen's arms. The eldest of the two sons is already in his early 20s and has joined the military. He has inherited her beautiful appearance and looks extraordinary. At this time, he is sitting next to his mother, with an attitude of absolute protector, staring at these people in the field. The person looking at his mother frowned with a pair of thick eyebrows. So Miss Hua, can you please express your thoughts? Huafui's weak and timid appearance aroused everyone's sympathy, thinking that all her parents, relatives, and people have died over the years, and now she still needs to face with the enemy who killed her own planet. Her beauty and cowardice did not make people look down on her, but made them pity her even more. To be continued. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 1068. Huafei leaned against Gu Chen, biting her lips, which were trembling. Tears welled up in her beautiful eyes. The voices of others' questions subconsciously softened a bit. Instead, it was as if she was afraid of frightening this weak girl. She paused for a while and did not speak. The sound of her sobs clearly reached everyone's slaps. The excitement on her face seemed to everyone that she had met her enemy. The most realistic reaction after that, but Lily felt something was wrong. She didn't look like she was excited after seeing her enemy at all. Instead, she looked like she couldn't control herself after seeing some relative. She didn't speak for a long time, only focusing on crying. No one had the heart to urge her. The beautiful representative of the opposition stared at Huafei with encouraging eyes. Gu Chen kissed her forehead tenderly and reached out to wipe her tears. She shed tears. Even more fiercely, after a long while, he took a deep breath. Me. In the name of Huafei, the royal princess of the Prince of Pluto, express. Huafei seemed to have mustered up her courage. Her voice was trembling at first, and then gradually became louder, with a firm look in her eyes. I mean, forgive the Nai family. Her voice still sounded like she was crying, but the firmness in it was easily audible. Obviously, what Huafei said was beyond the expectations of everyone in the venue and on the interstellar network. At this time, no one spoke, and they all stared at her blankly. Chen, will you forgive me? Huafei turned her head anxiously and stared at Gu Chen. Although the Nai family is guilty and has killed so many people, their technology has an effect on mankind. The death of the people of Pluto is already a thing of the past. You have already avenged me and repaid the injustice. When will it be? If I can give up my ego and let me forget this for the sake of the progress of all mankind. I will forget the hatred, I believe. If my parents were still alive, they would definitely agree. Her voice was urgent and fast, as if she was deeply afraid that Gu Chen would not understand. She had not finished speaking. Gu Chen looked at her pale face, held her cold and trembling little hand in his palm, and kissed her hand gently. Fui. You know that in my heart, you are the most important. I have been with you for so many years. You don't need to let me agree to whatever you want to do. Everything you do. Support. Aiken. After Huafei heard what he said, tears flowed out involuntarily. At this time, after a brief silence in the venue, a burst of thunderous applause suddenly rang out. The representative on the positive side had a look of helplessness on his face and sat back on the chair in a somewhat embarrassed manner. The beautiful woman on the negative side stood up and said excitedly, "Not only us here, but also the interstellar network and every resident of the galaxy have seen this historic moment. The noble feelings of the Princess of Pluto are reflected at this time. Between the ego and between ourselves, the eldest princess has chosen to give selflessly, and she is such a broad-minded woman. Is it worth our applause for her?" As soon as her somewhat excited voice fell, the applause was even crazier than before. Huafei obviously did not expect such a scene. There was a shy look on her beautiful and pure face, and her voice trembled. The Nai family killed millions of residents of Pluto, but, similarly, in order to avenge me, my husband also killed millions of people like the Nai family. If we want to seek revenge, should the Nai family no longer ask for revenge, what about our revenge? If this continues, when will this hatred subside? Her remarks touched not only everyone present, but also hundreds of millions of people on the interstellar network. This in an instant, Huafei's name and Huafei's image became a popular search item on the interstellar network. Then, how does MRSQ know that the Nai family does not want to take revenge on you? As everyone listened to Huafei's words, A cold female voice suddenly sounded, attracting everyone's attention, and a group of people subconsciously turning around. He saw that in a certain seat, a slender woman wearing a white combat uniform was speaking coldly. The ice and snow mask on her face, and the clothing on her combat uniform the Queen codename displayed instantly made her identity clear. No one expected that the Queen, who had been invited to watch the court hearing because she had contributed to the arrest of the Nye family, would speak. As the only S-class huntress in the Federation, the Queen, the unexpected appearance suddenly attracted the attention of many enthusiastic people in the venue. The focus of the interstellar network was Hwafwea, once again replaced by Lily. If it were someone else who spoke instead of Lily, and Hwafwea had the momentum just created to dare to interrupt her and question her this time, when Hwafwea's reputation was at its peak, it would definitely arouse the public's resentment. However, respect for the strong is an eternal law in any era. The powerful strength and aura displayed by the Queen are impressive, especially the arrest of the Nye family. In the past few days, Lily's popularity search ranking on the interstellar network has been very high. Gao, she is even more mysterious than Hwafwea in the hearts of everyone. At this time, when she spoke, many people became excited, but Hwafwea was stunned for a while. Her face turned red. After a while, then he spoke, because this time, the Federation took the initiative to attack the Nye family, not the Nye family who wanted to retaliate against the Federation. Let me tell you, MRSQ's theory that the Nye family killed millions of residents of Pluto Prince planet, and that Mr. Gu retaliated against the Nye family and killed many people in the Nye family, and that the Nye family should retaliate again, is simply based on its untenable. First of all, if the Nye family had not started the war out of greed, the major planets could have lived in harmony. However, the Nye family's greed and cruelty caused the death of tens of millions of innocent people on the two planets. This is the Nye family's "it's your own fault." Lily raised her voice a little higher and suppressed Hwafwea's words. What's more, after the Emperor's planet was destroyed, the Nye family did not take revenge as Madame Gu said. This time our husband and wife went to Nye's planet with Madame Gu. Nye said personally that they call the human cloning plan the King's Revenge Plan. After Lily finished speaking, she glanced at Hwafwea lightly. MRSQ, when she doesn't know anything, it's better not to say anything casually. Good. Even if the eldest princess has a wrong understanding of these things, her starting point is always good. Seeing the bad news, the representative of the opposition reluctantly stood up and refuted what Lily said. After all, she is the Prince of Pluto. The only surviving survivor. Even as a victim, she has said that she will no longer hold the Nye family accountable. The Nye family is indeed guilty. I also understand that the Queen personally arrested the Nye family and brought them to justice. If you are found guilty, your efforts will be in vain, and you feel a little unwilling. However, we must feel the princess's thoughts and the benefits that the Nye family's survival can bring to the interstellar people. Before she finished speaking, Lily's eyes had fallen on her. Lily's eyes were not sharp or even aggressive, but in an instant, she saw that this elegant woman's legs were trembling. Under her gaze, the opposition representative's expression became paler and paler, and beads of sweat even appeared on his forehead. He felt extremely stressed for a while and could not even speak fluently. Who told you that she can represent the only remaining people of Pluto and express that she will no longer hold the Nye family responsible for their crimes? This representative of the opposition is indeed very smart. She did not deny the mistakes the Nye family had made, but instead, with Hwafwea as the victim, she has already forgiven the Nye family for speaking. When she called Hwafwea, she did not use the title of MRSQ, but always called her the eldest princess. The meaning was naturally silent and metaphorical. Lily's question made the opposition representative, Monk Jong-er, confused. She even almost couldn't hold back her laughter when she heard Lily say this: the eldest princess cannot represent the only remaining people of Pluto. Then who can represent us? As we all know, Mr. Gu has been engaged to the eldest princess of the Hua family since he was a child. There is no doubt about the identity of the eldest princess, so she cannot represent her. So, Queen, can you represent me? This case is related to the future reputation and interests of the opposition representative. Although Lily is very powerful, in the face of interests, this professional woman still straightened her back and argued with her unyieldingly, even under Lily's gaze. Bravely sarcastically said to her, "In what capacity do you question the eldest princess?" "Eldest princess? Huafuyat. Gu Chen, have you really known Huafuyat?" Lily closed her eyes, suddenly feeling inexplicably worried for the original owner. "Gu Chen, the woman sleeping next to you, have you ever understood? Do you love the Huafui who made a marriage contract with you back then, or the Huafui who has been married to you for more than 20 years and has given birth to 2 sons for you?" Her question was not directly related to this case. As soon as Lily finished speaking, the opposition representative frowned, but Huafui suddenly turned pale and her body began to tremble slightly. Gu Chen never expected that Lily would suddenly ask him this in public, and he felt an inexplicable feeling of humiliation in his heart. He had watched his wife grow up since she was a child, and he liked her so much. Mysterious, everything about her has been integrated into his own flesh and blood. From the moment he can remember, he has known that he will marry her when he grows up. He is like caring for a seedling, slowly watching her grow up. He indulges her and dotes on her. She, even if she didn't want to hold a wedding with him because of her sister, he was happy with it. He loved Huafui to the core. Now Lily came to question his feelings. This was worse than Gu Chen's strength being doubted. Humiliate him. To be continued. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 1069. Gu Chen's eyes turned cold. Feeling his wife's trembling body, he lovingly held her in his arms. Gu Chen knew that she had changed a lot, but so what, she changed for a reason. Why should Lily, an outsider who didn't understand anything, point fingers at her family affairs? Thinking of Lily's questions about his wife on the battleship when he went to conquer the Nai family, Gu Chen felt murderous intent in his heart, and his face was full of danger. "I don't think this question has any direct relationship with this case, and I don't need to answer you." After saying this, Gu Chen paused. "I don't answer, not because I can't answer, but because I don't have to explain my feelings for my wife to an outsider. What qualifications do you have to ask me these questions? Whether there is a direct relationship or not is not up to you. What's more, it doesn't matter to me whether you answer or not. This answer is not the most important to me. You just need to ask yourself." Lily sighed. If it weren't for this moment, she wouldn't have stayed in this place at all. She had tried to kill the Nai family as early as that day. If she hadn't discovered this clue and wanted to complete the mission better this time, there is no need to stay in the Federation until now. Maybe you don't know that the eldest princess of Pluto Prince survived, but also the little princess of the Hua family. The eldest princess of the Hua family is a strong and brave woman. She is smart and proud, she is confident and strong. When Pluto was destroyed, in order to support her sister, she joined the team of bounty hunters. Lily spoke softly, her words made Gu Chen stunned for a moment, and then she showed obvious dissatisfaction. "Come," with a look of belief. He was about to speak, but Lily didn't give him a chance to speak. Everyone knows how difficult it is to become a bounty hunter. A once pampered girl like her has suffered a lot in order to survive. In this way, a woman who is indomitable and possesses such strong mental power. She is as glorious as anyone else. She can never be just a weak woman who hides behind men and sheds tears. My sister, she will never cry because of such a thing." Lily spoke decisively. At the same time, the ice and snow mask that had been covering her face suddenly shattered with a click sound and fell to the ground. On the ground. Hiss. The sound of gasps came from the venue, and the interstellar network was in chaos at this time. The wedding of Huafei and Gu Chen that day caused a sensation in the entire galaxy. The son of the powerful Interstellar Alliance military minister, and the princess in distress, marriage has become a topic of conversation among people after dinner. Hua Beihe, the little princess of the Hua family who has always been extremely well protected, has been protected by the Hua family because she has no mental power, guarding this secret to the death. Regarding her existence, people in the galaxy, most people only know about her existence and don't know much about Hua Lily as a person. On the day of Gu Chen and Huafei's marriage, more attention was focused on Gu Chen and Huafei. People in the Interstellar felt sorry for Huafei's plight, and her hometown was baptized by the flames of war, and felt pity for all the deaths of the tribesmen. When everyone felt blessed for her marriage, no one noticed the poor little Hua Lily. In the later period, Huafei's marriage was no longer the focus of everyone's attention, and naturally Hua Lily was forgotten. When everyone thought that the little princess of the Hua family died in a disaster, Lily took such an opportunity. Appeared in front of everyone again. Gu Chen has always wanted to know who the queen is, and he has been searching for the queen for nearly 10 years. Including this time when he returned from a mission, he once had the privilege to enter the federal database to find out the information about this queen because of his great achievements, but he didn't know it. At this time, the answer he had been pursuing was before him. In front of him, when he saw that the lily mask shattered, the hunter he had been pursuing and trying to surpass turned out to be the Hua Lily that he had once despised and hated, thinking that it had no effect at all. Everyone was stunned. He was not the only one who was surprised. Huafei's face instantly turned as white as snow, and her lips began to tremble. She almost bit her lips to control herself from screaming. How could Hua Lily survive? That day she gave Hua Lily to Xiao Yu. It was clear that the Xiao family's merchant ship was hijacked by Su Ying. Except for Xiao Yu, who escaped alone, everyone else on the ship, including the ship, had been destroyed. But why was Lily still alive? Did it even appear in front of him at this time? The person who had always thought to be dead would never appear in front of her again, now appeared in front of her alive. Huafei remembered something and her body began to sway slightly. Now, Gu Chen, do you still insist on your idea? The moment Lily revealed her identity, the beautiful and elegant opposition representative showed a helpless look on her face. As one of the survivors of Pluto, Lily naturally, she has the right to speak at this time, and the queen has such a powerful force. She will arrest the Nai family. Her strength and identity are enough to give her an extremely advantageous position in this trial. Gu Chen's face was very ugly. He instinctively grabbed Huafei's hand, as if he was afraid that she would slip away from his palm. When Lily said this, Gu Chen opened his mouth and said, "Can't say a complete sentence. My sister has always been a strong woman, Gu Chen, you grew up with her, don't you understand what kind of character she is?" Lily looked at Gu Chen's dumbfounded look, with the corners of her mouth raised and sarcasm in her eyes. "Ziz, she has been married to you for 20 years, Gu Chen, have you really not noticed any changes in this woman?" When she talked about Huafei, she called her this woman instead of her sister. Gu Chen's heart sank again and again, and he felt his throat was dry. What do you want to say in the end? What am I going to say, Gu Chen, don't you understand by now? I can see the changes, can't you? In the hall, under the gaze of countless projectors, tens of millions of people were watching. In his eyes, Gu Chen suddenly began to feel a chill coming from the soles of his feet. He glanced at Huafei instinctively. The rolling atoms apple represented his complicated mood at this time. It's normal to have changes. Fui has experienced so much, including the destruction of her relatives, tribesmen, and planet. It's normal for her to be afraid, insecure, and clinging to me, Gu Chen explained, not knowing what he was saying. Whether it was to convince Lily or to convince himself, Lily sneered and kept pulling Huafei. the boy who looked somewhat similar to her suddenly said with disgust after feeling his mother's increasingly cold hands. "What does my family's affairs have to do with you? The relationship between my parents is not for outsiders to interfere." The young man had not spoken before. He also heard something wrong during the conversation, but now when he saw his weak mother shivering because of Lily's appearance, he stood in front of her as a protector and glared at Lily. Lily glanced at him. When she entered the mission, from the conversation between Huafei and Gu Chen, she seemed to have heard that Huafei was pregnant. Calculating her age, she should be the young man in front of her. "Gu Chen, because of me, when my sister was supposed to hold a wedding ceremony with you at the age of 25, she refused several times and postponed the wedding. After Pluto's accident, she wanted to prevent me from starving. Enduring hardship, even abandoning self-respect and begging to others." When Lily said this, Gu Chen somehow felt more annoyed and frightened the more he listened, and he couldn't help but interrupt Lily, "Since you know her, if you treat you well, you should repay her well. You should not make her angry when she was pregnant, or even embarrass her in front of so many people now and make her unable to stand down." Lily closed her eyes. Whether it was in the plot or in the impression, Huafei's love for Hua Lily was unquestionable, so she abandoned Hua Lily later. Hua Lily had never dared to think about that memory. She didn't dare to touch her until Lily entered the mission. At first, because of the wish of the original owner in the mission, she always wanted to stay away from Huafei. "I have always thought that my sister was inexplicably angry with me, didn't like me, and even sent me to Xiaoyu. I did something wrong and made her angry and annoyed, because in the beginning Pluto Prince refused to hand me over to the Nai family, which led to the destruction of Pluto Prince. I thought she blamed me. The death of her relatives made her collapse, so she didn't want to see me." After Lily said this, Gu Chen's lips moved, but before he could speak, Lily continued. "That's what I thought when I was sent to the Xiao family's spaceship and almost raped by Xiaoyu." When she talked about being almost raped by Xiaoyu, Su Ying's eyes turned cold and her lips pursed. "Got up. Xiao's spaceship was hijacked, and I fell into the planet Camilla. Every time I was on the verge of death, I was thinking about this reason. Until I left the planet Camilla, became a hunter, and received a message from the twin planets. Mission: she fell to the planet Camilla." These words were heard by countless people. Although Lily only mentioned it in an understatement, the meaning contained in it was worth pondering. "Later I found out that I was wrong. My sister will never be angry with me. Huafei will not be angry with Hua Lily. She loves Hua Lily even more than she loves herself. She can let go for Hua Lily. Her self-esteem, she was willing to give up her identity as a princess and become a hunter for Hua Lily. Later, Hua Lily thought she was angry with herself, which was purely contradictory to what she had done before. If she really hated Hua Lily so much, why wasn't she angry with her when Pluto was destroyed, but why did she start to fall out after Gu Chen avenged the two of them? I met Xiaoyu again at Twin Stars and heard some interesting news from him. Gu Chen, do you want to know?" Lily changed the topic and finally came to this key point. To be continued. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 1070. When Huafei, who was sitting next to Gu Chen, heard Lily say this, her face instantly turned pale without any trace of blood. She even stood up in a panic. "Stop making trouble, Lily. If we have anything to say, let's go back and talk. You know, there was a reason why I gave you to Xiaoyu. You have no mental power, I just want to help you." She stammered. Yes. The expression on his face made Gu Chen feel unbearable in his heart. Although he was a little confused about what Lily said, his love for Huafei overcame something in Gu Chen's heart that he was unwilling to admit. Feeling of fear, he grabbed Huafei tightly and said coldly. Even if you are Hua Lily, I don't think these words have any direct bearing on this case. Xiao Yu told me that Huafei treated me as goods and entrusted me to him to transport to the Nai family. Lily's words were like a stone thrown into the lake, suddenly expanding layer after layer. Ripples and the sound of gasps came from all around. Gu Chen's eyes widened in the stands, and he wanted to scold her for talking nonsense, but when the words came to his mouth, his lips moved, but his throat was too dry to say a word. Words come. He's talking nonsense. On the trial stand, Na Yi, who had a gloomy face after Lily revealed her true face, frowned when she heard Lily's words, with a look of confusion on her face, and looked towards the direction of Huafei. Huafei suddenly screamed, "You are talking nonsense, Xiao Yu is dead, you can say whatever you want, unless you let him confront me." Xiao Yuren was indeed dead, and what Lily said before was indeed an unfounded guess, but Huafei's performance at this moment made her more and more sure of her guess. Xiao Yu told her at the beginning that the Xiao family only transported goods. When she made an exception to transport a person, Lily had guessed what Xiao Yu meant. Until this time she took over the federal task of encircling and suppressing the Nai family, when she and Gu Chen were on the battleship. Huafei appeared unexpectedly and asked Gu Chen not to go on this mission. At that time, Gu Chen explained that Huafei was worried that he would be injured and worried that he would not be able to go back. Later, Gu Chen even used how terrifying the Nai family was to explain Huafei's behavior. But Lily could tell that Huafei was worried not only about whether Gu Chen would go away or not. She seemed to be afraid that something would happen to the Nai family, and she was even more afraid of the fear when some secret was about to be revealed. The Nai family has already received the news about the siege of the Nai family and has made preparations in advance. They want to trap us in the Nai family and inform the Nai family's source of information. It comes from the Interstellar Alliance, Lily said. Although it did not explicitly indicate that Huafei was the person who secretly reported the news this time, no one present was a fool, so how could they not understand the meaning of her words? "You're talking nonsense, you're talking nonsense," Huafei suddenly shouted like crazy. She looked a little confused, like a headless fly, and shouted in panic, "Aiken! Aiken, let's go back." "Well, I don't want to see her again, I don't want to see her again." "Hua Lily, shut up." Fui has no reason to do this. Her sudden struggle made Gu Chen's handsome face look a little distressed and embarrassed. He held Huafei in his arms and spoke softly. He reassured, glaring at Lily. Huafei really has no reason to do this. What if she is not Huafei? Lily smiled. Looking at Gu Chen. Say these few words slowly. What do you mean? Gu Chen was confused at the moment. He felt that he understood every word of what Lily said, but when put together, he didn't understand what Lily meant. What do you mean she is not Huafei? She is your sister. I have watched her grow up. Do you think I will misidentify her? Do you think I will misidentify my wife? Lily looked at Gu Chen. It made him feel inexplicably upset, as if there was something that he would lose when Lily was about to reveal it. He felt flustered and a little angry for no reason, but he didn't know how to vent his anger, so he could only express his anger in a louder voice. Lily stared at him coldly. So Gu Chen, haven't you noticed the changes in her over the years? If she hadn't represented the remnants of Pluto Prince Star today and said that she would forgive the Nai family, maybe I wouldn't have I dare to be so sure, but now, I am very sure that she is not Huafei, not my sister, or in other words, Miss Nai, Nai's Aki of the Nai family. The so-called brain activity value has reached more than 90% a genius. Do you think it's right for me to call you this? Tens of thousands of people in the venue were all stunned by Lily's words. Gu Chen couldn't recover for a long time. When he realized what Lily had said and grinned, he wanted to laugh. But as soon as the smile reached the corners of her lips, it froze again. Such unbelievable words are simply ridiculous. It was obviously his fiancée, it was Huafua, but Lily said she was Naichi. Gu Chen wanted to laugh, but a sarcastic smile appeared at the corner of his mouth, and turned around to tell his wife about Lily. The words were so funny, but the next moment, he turned around and saw Huafua's face that was instantly pale and bloodless. Her body was swaying slightly, and her teeth were chattering. The look on her face made Gu Chen a little scared. It was as if a secret that had been concealed for many years was finally revealed. She seemed a little scared and a little relieved. Fuya, Fuya. Gu Chen called her in a low voice. Her eyes were distracted, as if she had been greatly frightened and had withdrawn into her shell, not daring to face the world. Seeing her like this, Gu Chen suddenly felt angry and a little scared. He said loudly, "Guard, where are the guards? In the name of a federal 5-star general, I arrested the Queen Hua Bei. She disrupted the court hearing. Order." In the huge hall of the Star Alliance Center, Gu Chen's high-pitched voice echoed back and forth. It took a long time for anyone to react. A large number of guards came from all directions. Lily looked coldly at the soldiers in the distance who had weapons and wanted to rush towards her, and stared at them condescendingly. Who dares to come here? If she can enter this interstellar alliance, she can naturally find a way to get out. I said, I want to stay, and no one can stop me. If I want to leave, no one can keep me here. When she said this, layers of water began to appear on the ground from the center of the hall. The ice covered the ground tightly. If these people dared to act rashly, Lily would destroy them on the spot. Her strength makes her say these words with full foundation. Several people who led the escort and rushed towards Lily suddenly stopped about 10 meters away from Lily. The leading group of people stared at Lily for a long time. When Lily saw these people, several familiar shadows appeared in her mind. They seemed to recognize her, and their faces turned blue and white. She ticked corners of mouth. Mr. Camilla, I haven't seen you for many years. The few people led by this escort were the same people who escaped from the planet Camilla with her. The ones who ran at the front wearing Alliance uniforms were the ones who had escaped from the planet Camilla with her. That psychic ability user, a man who calls himself Camilla. When he heard Lily greeting him, Camilla was stunned for a long time, her face turned blue and white. Obviously, no one thought that after a group of people separated 20 years ago, they would reunite in this way 20 years later. You dare to attack me? Seeing Lily standing lazily in the VIP seat, staring at him with a smile, Camilla remembered the scene when she was beaten violently, the pain that penetrated her bones, and the hands that had broken his bones. His life had almost been hanging by a thread. Even after 20 years, the thought of it still made the man tremble. The crazy behavior of the woman on the battleship, and the strangely improved strength. Suddenly, Camilla, without saying a word, he turned around and ran away. His actions made Gu Chen stunned for a moment, and then he became furious. Lily couldn't help but laugh. She saw that the other people had followed Camilla's actions and ran away. The remaining guards stared at her dumbfounded. She put her hands on the edge of the chair. Naichi has been hiding in other people's bodies for more than 20 years, hiding her head and tail. She is deeply afraid that one day I will see through her. She can't wait to send me away. She is afraid that I will expose you and live like someone else's shadow. Don't you? Tired? She's not tired, I'm tired. A faint voice sounded from Huafui's mouth. The woman, who looked like she was in a state of confusion before, when she raised her head again, her expression was still pale, but her lips were pursed tightly, and the glistening tears in her eyes had not been completely wiped away, but the determination in those eyes was and excitement, but it made Lily stunned for a moment. Sister, Lily called out subconsciously in disbelief. Everyone, Monk Zhang was confused, and it became clear that Lily herself said that Huafua was not Huafua, but Naichi. At this time, she called the person who she said was not her sister, sister. Gu Chen was a little panicked. He felt that something important was about to be lost in the next moment. He instinctively reached out to hold Huafei tighter, but she did not look at him, but stared at Lily. Fui, Fui. Gu Chen called Huafei's name again and again. The young man on the side heard that something was wrong with Gu Chen's tone, and at the same time reached out to hold Huafei tighter. Mother, he called uneasily, and Huafei turned to stare at him, her expression cold, not the gentle and cowardly look she had before. There was disgust in her eyes, which made the young man's heart tremble. She subconsciously let go of her hand. She stood up straight from Gu Chen's arms, with her back straight, and looked towards Lily, revealing something that shocked Gu Chen. A timid smile. She was obviously smiling, but at this moment, the smile seemed to make Gu Chen feel chilled. Fui, what's wrong with you? To be continued. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 1071. Ziahe, come here, come to sister. Huafei struggled to break free from Gu Chen's arm, but Gu Chen held her very tightly. She didn't look at Gu Chen, she just stared at Lily and waved to Lily. Lily's eyes widened. In the impression of the original owner, she seemed to have returned to the carefree and unfiltered girlhood of Pluto. At that time, Huafei always said to her so gently, come on, Ziahe, come here sister, come here. No words at that time could make Hua Lily feel more at ease and safe than this sentence. Sister, Lily's heart felt like a turbulent wave at this time. This tone, this voice, this expression was not the delicate and frail Huafei before. Instead, there was a bit of resoluteness and courage between her eyebrows. Although her face was still pale, but the corners of her mouth were pursed tightly, and even though there were still tears in her eyes, her face still showed a proud and calm expression. This is the real Wavia. Why did Huafei suddenly seem to be a different person? Lily had always speculated that Huafei was possessed by Nai Qi, from Huafei's abnormality after she entered the mission, to what Xiao Yu said during the Twin Stars, her own speculations in her words, as well as Huafei's pleas when she and Gu Chen went out to encircle and suppress the Nai family, and then discovering the Nai family's king plan and Nai Qi's crazy love for Gu Chen. Because of her knowledge in addition, the changes in Huafei started when Gu Chen wiped out the Emperor's star. After thinking about it these days, she always felt that Huafei's change was unusual and seemed like a different person. Similar. In the mission, we saw too many time travel girls and reborn girls. Lily boldly speculated that Huafei should have been reborn by Nai Qi, and Nai Qi protected the Nai family. As well as her somewhat abnormal love for Gu Chen, and knowing the time of Nai Qi's death and the time of Huafei's transformation, Lily boldly said these words during the trial today. But she didn't expect it. Huafei was not dead, she was still alive, and he waved her over. Is Huafei really not dead, or is Nai Qi's conspiracy weird? Or has Huafei really changed in the past 20 years or so, and all her guesses are wrong? Lily's thoughts were racing rapidly, and she subconsciously wanted to get off the high platform. Su Ying followed behind her, her eyes falling on Huafei. She was also staring at Su Ying, and saw that Su Ying acted like a protector. When following Lily, Huafei let out a sigh of relief on her face. He was a little reluctant to part with her, but also seemed to be happy for Lily, but with an unusually sour expression. Ziahe, Ziahe, my sister, my baby. When she saw herself waving to Lily, she ran towards her without hesitation. Just like before, Huafei had no doubt about her, and Huafei was heartbroken. She struggled desperately, but her strength was not very strong, but her decisive attitude scared Gu Chen from the bottom of his heart. She seemed to want to break away from her arms even if she was injured. Although Gu Chen always felt uncomfortable, she let go, as if she was about to run away. But in the end, his love for her trumped the fear in his heart. He couldn't bear to see her hurt, so he still let go of his hand. The moment Gu Chen let go, Huafei rushed towards Lily and hugged her into his arms. What you said? I heard it all. My sister has never blamed you. For the death of the people of the Pluto Star clan and the death of my family members, my sister has never blamed you. Huafei hugged Lily tightly, her voice was loud when she spoke. She was trembling softly, but her tone was very firm. Everyone in the hall watched the sisters hugging each other, and they were all silent and didn't know what to do. Starnet has not yet figured out how to deal with this dramatic reunion of the sisters. But what Huafei said at this time suddenly made Lily feel relieved, her eyes began to feel sour involuntarily, and a sense of grievance surged out from the depths of her heart. This was the remaining emotion of the original owner, even after Lily entered. This body was 20 years old, but when the original owner heard her sister say that she had never blamed her in her life, Lily still felt relieved in her heart. If I want to blame, I can only blame the Nye family. If I want to hate, I can only hate the Nye family. I can only hate myself. I have no ability to save Pluto Prince, seeing I have no ability to protect you. I cannot even protect myself. Huafuya reached out to touch Lily's face. Remember that day when my sister told you that she would make you live a life of food and clothing without worries? When she spoke, tears slid down her smooth face, but she did not cry. She made a sound, but this kind of silent tears was far more uncomfortable than the delicate and timid crying of Huafuya before. When the tears fell from her chin to her body, they were absorbed by the hem of her skirt. The weight of this tear was far heavier than the tears she had shed before. Her voice was filled with desolation, anger, and sadness. She said such a passage was enough to prove that she was indeed the real Huafuya. When Gu Chen went to conquer the Nye family of the Emperor Star, Lily remembered that she had made up her mind and talked to him, saying that she wanted to let her live a life full of food, clothing, and happiness. I remember, when Gu Chen went to conquer the Emperor planet, my sister said that she hoped I would live a happy life. Lily's words made Huafei smile, but there was a heavy look in her smile. Do you still remember? But my sister broke her promise. You are gentle and introverted, so lovable and obedient. I am so afraid that I cannot protect you. Every day I worry that the Nye family will kidnap you. I contacted Gu Chen when he went to the Emperor planet. I originally hoped that he could marry you. As your wife, please protect you for me, but I was suppressed before I could do anything. Later her words finally solved the doubts in Lily's heart over the years. No wonder Huafei seemed to have done something that day. It was a big decision, so no wonder she hesitated to speak at that time. Gu Chen is a very special and important existence to Huafei. They have decided to get married since they were young. They grew up as childhood sweethearts and have a deep relationship. When Huafei made this decision, she must have gone through a lot in her heart. Suffering. She is willing to give up her beloved fiancé to her sister, which shows how deeply she loves her sister. When Lily heard this, she was already sure that what she had guessed before was probably true. She looked at Huafei's face. Suddenly, I felt a bit of pity and distress in my heart. I like you so much that I am even willing to give up my fiancé to you. How can I bear to hand you over to the Xiao family? Huafei said here. Suddenly he turned his head and glared at Gu Chen resentfully. When Gu Chen heard her words, his heart went cold. He saw Huafei's cold eyes. Those beautiful eyes that he had looked at for many years reflected his shadow for the first time. They were no longer full of love and fondness, but instead filled with indifference and resentment. Through her eyes, Gu Chen saw his own frightened face and panicked look. He shook his head instinctively and reached out to grab Huafei. Fuya, you. Gu Chen felt cold all over his body at this moment, and fear was like a vine wrapping around him tighter and tighter. He had experienced countless wars, big and small, in his life, and he couldn't remember how many narrow escapes he had. He was in a critical moment, but he had never been so scared before. He seemed to have a rabbit in his heart, hopping wildly. Because of his uneasiness, his legs began to shake unconsciously to vent his feelings. He desperately wanted to prove something, but everything that happened at this time was beyond his control. He instinctively called out Huafui's name, but in exchange, she turned her face away without mercy. If I could stop it, I would rather trade it with my life than let you suffer so much, let you almost be insulted, let you almost fall into the hands of the Nai family, let you fall off the planet Camilla, to become a bounty hunter. My sister is useless. Even the revenge of the Hua family is up to you. Huafui pursed her lips. If she could, she didn't want her sister to grow up in this way, even if now she is actually proud of Lily's growth. She didn't know much about the middle stuff. But just in a place like the Camilla Galaxy, the Hua family has pampered girls who have grown up since childhood. How Huafui could escape from such a place was terrifying just by imagining it. A bit of confusion flashed in her pupils, and she soon became clear again. Ziahe, listen to me, your body has no mental power. Your parents have tried to find the reason before, but they still don't know. We have tried many ways to find out the reason for you. Do you remember, Hua? After Fui discovered that she was in a daze for that moment, she quickly turned the topic to Lily. The Hua family can only give birth to one daughter in one generation, and every third generation of princesses must have special powers. This the generation after my birth, my abilities reached A and above, breaking the record in Fahrenheit history. Princess, I don't understand what you are saying has anything to do with this case. After listening for a long time, the representative of the opposing side finally couldn't help it and stood up to interrupt Huafui. At this time, the situation became increasingly weird. She always felt inexplicably that if Huafui was allowed to continue talking, she could almost predict the outcome of the trial this time. In response to her sudden interruption, Huafui did not turn around. I used to be puzzled by this matter, but until I was invaded by Nai Chi's mental power, you can understand that after Nai Chi's body died, her consciousness suddenly appeared in my body. To use the words of the earth in ancient times, it was only after Nai Chi took over the reincarnation that I finally understood my shortcomings. Huafui said this, with a look of forbearance on her face, and then she spoke quickly. I only have spiritual power in my body, and Ziahe, your body has the hidden power of supernatural powers. In other words, the two sisters were supposed to be one person. The weird tradition of having only one princess in the Fahrenheit generation is not the same. It should have been broken at this time, but accidentally due to the existence of the two princesses, the superpower and mental power were divided into two. Because Huafui gained spiritual power, her spiritual power was particularly strong, but there was no hidden power in her body. Hua Lily has the hidden power of superpowers in her body, but she has no mental power. The reason why Hua Lily did not activate superpowers in the early years is because in Fahrenheit's bloodline, mental power and superpowers need to complement each other. Hua Bei was well protected by her family at that time, and they were reluctant to attack her with her mental power. Without the stimulation of her mental power, the superpowers in her body would naturally not appear. The Hua family had always thought that she had no fighting ability at all. It's just an accident that happened to this generation of the Hua family. When the two sisters escaped from Pluto, Huafui tried to activate her powers to protect her sister, but she failed until Nai Chi took over her body. Nai Chi's own brain development and application has reached more than 90%. In other words, even if she does not have a strong physical body or even lacks mental strength, because of her active brain energy, in a certain aspect in terms of performance, she is on par with Huafui. And she has a deep obsession with Gu Chen, and she loves Gu Chen. The most important thing is that she is a complete soul, and Huafui didn't know it until her body was taken away by Nai Chi and she suppressed it and hid it in the corner of her body. Only then did I realize that I might be incomplete. Over the years, she has watched Nai Chi use her body to kiss Gu Chen. She has seen her sister being framed and sent away by Nai Chi. She has watched Nai Chi use her body to give birth to a child. Huafui was angry at first about Gu Chen's two children. She was resentful, but because of certain shortcomings, she couldn't do anything about Naichi. Her body being occupied by Naichi was as if it had been defiled by some source of pollution. The feeling of pain and powerlessness lingered in her heart all the time, making her feel sick and disgusted. If Lily hadn't suddenly revealed Naichi's existence today, the despicable thief would have been frightened at that moment. As if she was afraid of being exposed, as if the most filthy thing was afraid of facing the sun, she took the initiative to hide. I'm afraid she would have to be forced to see how Naichi lived in her own skin for the rest of her life. From a previous life. When Huafei originally thought that she was powerless in this life, she didn't expect that her dearest sister would still notice her. At that moment, Huafei felt an indescribable feeling in her heart. She and Guchen grew up as childhood sweethearts. She used to like Guchen so much. You know, besides her sister, her favorite was Guchen. But Guchen couldn't recognize her. She had changed so much that Huafei was disappointed because Guchen had never doubted it. What disappointed Huafei the most was that when Naichi wanted to use her body to frame Hua Lily, Guchen believed her without hesitation. Doesn't he know? What is the most important thing to you? Listen to me, my sister's spiritual power, combined with your superpower, is the real Princess Fahrenheit. Over the years, I have been trapped in my body by Naichi every day. She has been trying to steal my spirit. She is afraid that Guchen will notice the difference. Naichi is indeed a genius, and she has also developed a method. She even tested it and indeed stole some mental power from Huafei for her use. But at this moment, Huafei was advantageous. I will transfer my spiritual power to you. Huafei stretched out her hand and grabbed Lily tightly. Her expression as if she was explaining her future affairs made Lily instinctively feel that something was wrong. She grabbed Huafei with her backhand, but the next moment Huafei grabbed Lily's hand. Big beads of sweat quickly appeared on her forehead, and her face turned sallow in an instant. She was like a rose that had lost its nutrients. She took off a bracelet from her wrist with difficulty, and used her strength to stuff it into Lily's hand. This is the connector Naichi made. Take it. After she said this, she suddenly stretched out her hand to push Lily away, and snatched away the weapon that symbolized honor and status from Guchen. The weapon was not the most advanced lethal nano-weapon, but a very delicate one. Just for decoration to represent his identity and status, but at this moment she suddenly snatched the gorgeous gem-encrusted weapon in her hand, turned around and shouted at Nai. The eldest princess of Fahrenheit will never forgive the Nai family's crimes. Everything I said before does not represent the truest thoughts in my heart. The executioner should die. She doesn't care about greatness and the progress of all mankind. These so-called false reputations, are not as important to her as a single hair of her relatives. After Huafei shouted loudly, she suddenly pointed the weapon at her face. Take care of her. She said this to the silent Su Ying. The next moment, there was a bang, and her face first showed a look of relief, and then panic and the familiar sense of cowardice overwhelmed her, and a sharp female voice rang out from her mouth. No. In an instant, Huafei's face was cut and melted under the attack of light nuclear weapons. This scene happened so fast that Lily had no time to stop her. Huafei wanted to die. Her body was defiled by Naichi. If she lived, she would never be able to get rid of Naichi's entanglement. Even if Lily was willing to sacrifice herself to fulfill her, but how could Huafei be willing to ask for this kind of fulfillment? Even if she wanted it, how could a person with such a strong character like her, who would rather die than live in ruins, face Guchen and the two children Naichi gave birth to with her body? Lily pursed her lips tightly, her throat feeling dry. Fwia. Fwia. The remaining body of her body fell to the ground with a bang, and the gorgeous weapon fell to the ground with a loud sound. The sound seemed to break the spell in the room. Guchen, as if he had woken up, he shouted like crazy. Wake up quickly, what's going on? What's going on? Guchen was about to collapse. He could hardly stand up. He saw the person he had loved for so many years and had already integrated into his life. Woman in. After bidding farewell to him and walking out of his life in this way, Gu Chen felt as if a large piece of her heart had been hollowed out. She wanted to stay away from her even to death. She doesn't like him that much. After Gu Chen thought about what Hua Fui said just now, he would be really stupid if he still didn't understand what happened. But Gu Chen didn't want to believe it at all, and he didn't want to believe that such a ridiculous thing would happen to him. On the body. But the matter was placed before him so vividly that he couldn't help but not believe it. Hua Fui's body was still there. This scene was so vivid that it probably hurt the most heartbreaking part. Gu Chen couldn't even shed tears, his eyes were so dry that he could only keep calling Hua Fui's name, as if only in this way could he calm down. There had never been such a moment before. Gu Chen even hoped that Hua Fui would not wake up and let him live in this kind of mirror. He hoped that when he opened his eyes, what I saw was Hua Fui's gentle and smiling face. Even if she was fake, even if she was pretending, at least she was still alive. She won't turn into a cold corpse. For as long as he could remember, Gu Chen had always thought that he was calm and firm. Whether it was the praise he received from the federal government or the opinions of his elders and colleagues, he was calm, steady and mature. But at this moment, Gu Chen was too timid to face him. To this fact, he loved Hua Fui's character and the moment she came back. Even if she hates herself. But Gu Chen was still moved by her. He thought that the love he had for Hua Fuya when he was young and as passionate as the sun had left only affection and obedience. He thought that in the end, the couple would only get along with each other. It's the kind of life that is as plain as water. He had a wife, responsibilities, a son, and a family, but she came back at the moment Gu Chen's heart beat like a drum. Gu Chen realized that he might have admitted the wrong person. But what if he admits his mistake? If the result of admitting his mistake is that she can still stay with him, he may not want to wake up from this sweet dream. If the person he truly loves comes back and sees him, only resentment and longing will remain. When he was far away from him, for a moment, he would rather choose to be an ostrich and pretend to be deaf and dumb and not know anything. Fuya. Gu Chen felt empty, and Lily stared at him coldly. What's the use of crying now? You don't know my sister's character? If you could have discovered it earlier when you married her, there's something wrong with her. If you could have helped her earlier, wouldn't nothing have happened now? Gu Chen, what are you going to call her now? You don't deserve to call her by her name. Lily felt a little uncomfortable at this time. Hua Fui's proud character definitely didn't want to live after knowing that her body was being used and had been defiled by Naichi. She didn't expect that Hua Lily and Hua Fui would have such a relationship. One has mental power and the other has supernatural powers. No wonder she activated her powers that day by using Camilla's mental power. There is no doubt about Hua Fui's love for her sister, but in the end she still miscalculated. Her real sister had already died in Naichi's hands, and died on the planet Camilla after being tired of being played by Xiaoyu. But it would be too cruel to tell Hua Fui before her death. Lily kept silent at that time. Maybe it would be best for Hua Fui to leave with peace of mind at this time. If she lives, according to her love for her sister, she will finally realize one day that she is different. How will she explain her origins then? She was possessed by Naichi. She was so smart that she would guess all this easier than herself. If she knew that her sister died at the hands of Naichi who used her body to cause trouble, what would it be like for Hua Fui? What kind of blow? In the plot, the reason why Xiaoyu did not give Hua Lily to the Nai family may be because he was tired of playing and there was no need to follow Naichi's request. Secondly, it may also be because the Nai family had a bad reputation and he didn't want to. After getting into all these troubles, Sanlai probably feared that if he really did this, he would one day be trapped in Naichi's hands. If she caught him, he might die in her hands. So in the plot, he kills Hua Lily, which is the best ending. Therefore, when he was in Twin Stars, he was so afraid of Gu Chen's appearance, probably because of a guilty conscience. As for how he escaped in the plot, Lily didn't know and didn't want to know. Anyway, Xiao Yu is dead now. Huafui's death caused a wave of waves in the venue, and the star seemed to explode at this time. Nai Qi was reborn and died in the Emperor's star. However, he was resurrected through the body of the eldest princess of the Hua family, and even tried to use her mouth to forgive the sins of his own people. The reasons that seemed noble and great before are no longer valid after the truth of the matter is revealed. The representative of the affirmative side easily refuted the representative of the negative side. The outcome of this trial has been decided. Mayaki is so good. So good. Can she be reborn by borrowing her own body? Can she be reborn by borrowing her own body? In the courtroom, Nai Yi yelled like crazy. His eyes were red with excitement, but after the whole people judged him guilty. When it was unanimously decided to execute him, Nai Yi suddenly shouted, "I am not afraid of death. Ha ha ha, my daughter can be reborn again." Every surviving elite member of the Nai family has a brain that is extremely active. You can't kill us. Do you think everyone is so lucky? Lily sneered. Huafui had already made it very clear about what happened just now. Not everyone has such special circumstances as the two princesses of the Fahrenheit generation who should have been born into the same family. The reason why two girls were born was not because there was an extra daughter in Fahrenheit's generation, but because God divided the one person who was supposed to be born into two girls. It is precisely because of the special characteristics of the two daughters of the Hua family that Nai Qi can easily take over her body. Lily's words stunned Nai Yi for a moment. When he came back to his senses, he seemed to have remembered something. Start struggling like crazy. No, I won't die, and the Nai family won't die. We have advanced minds. Aren't you curious about the soul transfer just now? We can study it. We can study it. If we survive, it will have more effects. He shouted desperately, and many people showed hesitation on their faces. Lily looked at all this coldly. It is true that soul transfer occurs. It may not even be rare, but I believe that special situations like the Hua family must be rare. Nai Yi just wanted to experiment. There must also be materials for him. Lily's words made these hesitant people suddenly wake up, the Nai clan. In the end, he was sentenced to death because he committed too many crimes and was punished for several crimes. Just because of the special nature of the Nai family, this death penalty is also very special. Scientists will take his brain for experiments. Nai Yi's wish has been realized. He will live in another way, unable to survive or die. When the incident ended, the legendary deeds of a pair of princesses from Pluto and Prince Pluto on the interstellar network spread throughout the galaxy in a short period of time. The Nai family fell, the great revenge was avenged, and Lily no longer cared about the interstellar alliance. The Federation once thought of keeping her, but it couldn't keep her at all. When Gu Chen saw her off, he seemed to have aged more than 20 years. He was clearly at an age where he was radiant and handsome, but at this moment he looked gray on the temples and looked indescribably exhausted. He watched Lily's battleship leave, and what came to his mind was the disgusted look in Huafui's eyes when she looked at him that day. Nothing made him feel more sad than his beloved hating him. In the battleship, Lily completed this task. Although the process was a bit tedious and the result was a bit regretful, she had a hunch that the task was completed in the end. "Where do you want to go?" She tilted her head to set the coordinates and stared at Su Ying. Su Ying hugged her through the protective clothing. "Have we met somewhere, recently?" He liked to get close to her more and more, but always separated by the protective clothing, as if there was something between the two of them. He asked when Lily heard what he said. Lily grinned as if she was sure of something. "To be continued, Carrot."